commission resumes. Generaal Major is nog steeds aan de eet.
En daar still aan de oath.
Zal u voortgaan met die kruisondervraag?
Morning, Generals.
Good morning, Advocate.
Whilst you were in the jog, you must have been aware that there were STF members at an observation post at the Smelter. Is that right?
That's correct, Chairperson.
Into ibinoba yenzekile into ba wawusazi pha kwamalungu STF ahleli kundawo apho ayilinde khona kunjalo uthi ewe kunjalo uGeneral.
In fact, there's an annexure WS3, page 72. Which Mr. Chairman, sorry for that. Do you have access to that annexure WS3? Observation post by STF at BMR Smelter.
Chairperson, I'm aware of that observation post.
Yes, thank you very much, General.
Ndinolwazi ke ngaloo ndawo leyo kwakuhleli bejongile belinde kuyo.
And in fact, you, in those minutes of the jog meeting, the 13:30-minute exhibit, double E, we have it recorded there that feedback from the STF observation post must be obtained. I mean, that was one of the objectives. Is that right?
Enye into ke ukwafuneka yenzeke pha into kuba ke ukubekho ingxele vela pha kwaba babehlala bejongile be-STF kuloo ndawo babekuyo kunjalo.
That's correct, Chairperson.
Kunjalo sihlalo.
So, what we are seeking to put to you is that with that kind of additional communication possible from your own members, it's highly improbable, and I will not put it higher than that, that you would not have had communicated to you what was happening in Scene 1.
Ukuba ke kwakhwaba benu ke ukuba be lapho be-STF ke ukuba nabo bajonge apho kwaye banike ingxelo ngoku ke into yokuba bangathethi nawe ke ngoku okanye bangakwazi ukuthi banike ingxelo into engenawukholelwa leyo.
Voorsitter, daar was baie bevelvoerders baie nader aan toneel 1 as die observasiepos wat 1 punt iets kilometer, ek dink dit kan selfs so ver as 1.6 kilometer weg was. Die observasiepos se doel was gewees om beweging van mense soos wat hulle na die koppie toe beweeg deur te gee. So hulle was waarskynlik nie in die beste posisie in elk geval om te sien wat gebeur op die toneel nie.
Chairperson, the observation post was actually intended to be looking at people that were going to their copy. They were about 1.6 kilometers away from us. They were not in a very good position to observe what was taking place at scene 1.
Uthi ke abantu babebekwe pha be-STF injongo yokuba babekwapo yayiukujonga ke abantu babesiya pha endulini pha kwekopi. Uthi ke khange kwabazi ujonga kuhle ngoba umgama ababekuwo yayizikilometer ezi 1.6.
The witness also said that there were other commanders who were closer.
That's correct, that there were other commanders who were closer to.
Uthi ke kwakukho nezinye inkomanda ezazikufuphi apho.
I would assume, General, and you will correct me if I'm wrong here, that the STF members at the observation post at the Smelter could have been called on cell phone or radio. Or were their cell phones not working?
Into endithetha into ba into bekufuneka yenzekile apho ke okanye ithatha ukuthi ke kwakufuneka ngokuba tsalelwe iminxeba bona be-STF babelapho kwi-cell phone zabo kunjalo.
Voorsitter, hulle was in radioverbinding en die lede het selfone by hulle gehad.
The members had cell phones, although they were also on radio contact.
Babe nazo ke i-cellphone nangona ke babe kunxulumana besebenzisa ke nomathotholo abo babo.
Die radiokommunikasie was egter sodanig nadat die aanval basis vanaf die draad wat uitgerol is in die aanval op die polisielyn en vir die volgende so wat seker meer as 'n halfuur dat 2 persone te wete Kalitz en Vermaak basis die hele tyd die radiokanaal beset het.
After the attack, the radio was most of the time Vermaak and Kalitz were most of the time on the radio. After the attack on the police.
Apho ke ixesha elininzi aba babethenza kakhulu pha konomathotholo yayinguKalitz noVermaak.
Yes. Now, I believe that on the 14th, when Brigadier Kalitz was at the copy and the radio system failed because of interference from the power lines, the cell phone numbers of all the commanders now, what was done to get communication when the radio system failed?
Kodwa ke nxeba ke ngoku wayipha entabeni ke kwaye yena uKalitz kwaye kwabakho ingxaki iyo kuqhagamshelana ke ngoku ngonomathotholo xa kubona uba into ke ngoku ngathi iyaphanza ayiphumeleli yintoni ke ngoku ethe yenza uqinisekisa into yobana udliwano-ndlebe luyaqhubekeka nxulumelwano.
Voorsitter, dit was nie 'n systeem wat totale failure van die systeem nie. Daar was nie duidelike kommunikasie nie en op advies van die radiotegniese kundige het die lede slegs hulle posisie van onder die oorhoofse kragdrade het hulle verskuif en toe was die probleme opgelos.
Chairperson, it wasn't a total communication failure. It was such that when the radio operators moved it from the pylons, everything started operating again.
Uthi ke ngoku khona ixesha apha ke ngoku xa besuka ngakwebhali zo kwaye bakwazi ukuthi kakhona babe nonxulumelwano olo labo.
Is it so that at the jog, all the phone numbers, and there is a photograph of what I believe is the jog which will be circulated. The phone numbers of all the commanders were posted on the wall in the jog.
Inyani na into kubana zonke inombolo zemfonomfono zenkomanda zazinxinyathiselwe pha edongeni pha kwejog.
Voorsitter, daar was wel die selfoonnommers van die bevelvoerders was wel beskikbaar.
The phone numbers of the commanders were available, Mr. Chairperson, yes.
Ewe zazifumaneka zikhona ke iinombolo zemfonomfono ke zenkomanda.
Mr. Chairman, I will have circulated, just for the record, the relevant page that shows a photograph of the joke, where apparently the phone numbers are on the wall, just for the general to familiarize himself as to whether that is in fact so.
Zisake imifanekiso apho kuboniswa khona lo
That's
ezo
correct,
nombolo zemfonomfono ke ezazipha kwijoke.
Triple G40.
Don't ask me how I got this channel.
Ngabuzi ba luqephu lifumene njani na.
This is the inside of the joke, is it?
Voorsitter, ek sal nie verbaas wees as die polisie dit nie beskikbaar gestel het nie.
I wouldn't be surprised if this was not supplied by the police.
No,
Ba le uqephu belingaveli ke aliphume kumapolisa nsoze ke ndothuke.
Yes. So those are I mean, it makes a point in relation to which we are all in agreement. So if all else failed, radio communication, this, that, and the next thing, those were also other communication channels via which you in the joke could have been communicated with.
Ukuba ke ngoku ezinye indlela zokunxulumelana zaziphanzile kodwa ezi ngezinye indlela enaninokwazi uba nibe nothungelwano ngazo njalo.
That's correct, Chairperson.
Kunjalo sihlalo.
Now, you will forgive me, I'm to use a popular word in South Africa, I'm challenged when it comes to things technical. I believe there is something called aviation band radio channel. Aviation band radio channel. And I think Annexure slide 147 in Annexure 11 refers to Exhibit F. Where's Exhibit F? It's in here. What does it say?
Sorry.
You see where it says UHF radio channel 47 signals. You see that?
Ek sien dit, Voorsitter.
I see that, Chairperson.
Ewe ndiyayibona loo nto sihlalo.
Now, was that another communication channel
Enye
with
i-channel
the
ke
helicopters?
enye i-channel ninayo niyisebenzisa ke ngoku kwaba ke babe kuyinqwelo entaka. Le channel leyo.
Voorsitter, nee, dit was die kanaal wat almal op gefunksioneer het, die sogenaamde analoog radiostelsel.
No, Chairperson, the channel on which everybody communicated, the so-called analog.
Le yayisetyenziswa ke ngoku
Channel.
yona ngelo xesha ile ibizwa i-analog i-channel.
Is your evidence that this was not a separate radio channel other than the one that had communications?
Uthi ke yayingasi yenye ke ngoku i-channel ke inye indlela ke nakwazi ukuba nibe nothungelwano ngayo ngaphandle kwale uyikhankanyileyo.
Voorsitter, u sal merk van slide 136 af 137, 138, 9, 404, 142 almal verwys na presies dieselfde kanaal UHF radio channel 47. So dit was die kanaal.
The one referred to as radio channel 47 from slide 136 to 144, everybody refers to that channel.
Ile ke ngoku kuthethwa ngale kwezilali zikhankanyiweyo ibiza ke ngoku UHF 47.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman. Was there or was there not a separate channel with which you communicated with the SAN and DF helicopter in the air?
Akho channel ke ingenye enathi nabanothungelwano ngayo kunye naba ke ngoku bomkhosi wezomoya uMzantsi Afrika.
Voorsitter, as ons met ons choppers praat, dan praat ons op die gewone selfde kanaal met die choppers en dan choppers is met mekaar in verbinding.
The choppers are connected to one, in connection with the other. When we talk to them, we talk through the radio channels of the choppers.
The normal police.
The normal police.
Channel.
The normal police channel.
Kwezi ke nabo bakunqolontaka wabasebenzisa kwa channel ke ngosasetyenziswa siqhelekileyo zamapolisa.
Voorsitter, maar as hulle mekaar praat dan sit ek weet nie 'n lugvaartfrekwensie of iets, maar hulle kan onder mekaar praat, maar ons praat met ons polisie choppers gewoonweg op dieselfde kanaal en dan sal hulle verder kontak tussen mekaar hê op 'n aparte kanaal.
They communicate on an apart panel, but when we communicate with them, we speak through the usual police channel.
Nabo bathetha ke ngoku bekuyindawo ke ngoku ezahlukene okanye into ezahlukeneyo kodwa ke kusetyenziswa le channel yamapolisa ke ngoku xa kukho uthungelwano.
So what could have been the means by which the SANDF be communicating with the other choppers?
Yayizosebenzisa indlela yiphi yona aba ke ngoku SANDF kwinqolo ntaka xa banothungelwano okanye udlondlebe kunye nabanye abakwezinye inqolo ntaka.
Voorsitter, op die ek verwys dan na 'n lugvaartkanaal wat dit ook al die korrekte benaming is, maar hulle praat dan mekaar op so 'n kanaal.
A channel the general refers to as a lugvaart, something to do with the airways channel. That's a channel through which they communicate with each other.
Ikhona enye channel ke abayisebenzisayo yasemoyeni ile bayisebenzisayo bona xa benothungelwano.
What I'm trying to explore is whether communication with the jock on a channel to the SANDF chopper was not possible on the day and the time when these events were taking place.
Into endifuna uyiqonda uba ukuba kokuthungelwano phakathi kwabasejock kuya kwezi nqolontaka ze-SANDF into eyayinokwazi ukwenzeka naleyo ngelo xesha na kwakusenzeka ezi zinto.
Voorsitter, deur Charlie 1
through Charlie 1 chairperson,
polisie chopper Luitenant-Kolonel Vermaak,
which was the police chopper, and inside was Colonel Vermaak.
Kan daar gekommunikeer word die Oryx van die Suid-Afrikaanse Nasionale Lugmag.
Communication could through the Oryx to the South African Air Force chopper.
Uthi ke ngoku Charlie 1 apha kwakho
yes, Air Force
Colonel Vermaak wayekwazi uba benothungelwano kunye naba bamajoni ke besebenzisa ke i-Oryx leyo.
Would it be fair to then say, at the time that was explored yesterday with you by the chairman, for various times, that through this channel, there could have been a communication by Vermaak to the jock as to what was happening on the ground? Drawing from the communication from the SANDF chopper.
Wayenokwazi ke yena uVermaak ngoncedo ke ngoku lo thungulano olwenziwa ngale nqolontaka yomkhosi ukwazi ukuba nodliwano ndlebe kunye nabantu ababepha kwijog kunjalo.
Voorsitter, dit is korrek en dan was dat ook as ons na die transkripsies kyk was dit meestal Vermaak en Brigadier Kalitz wat dan met die jog gekommunikeer het en kolonel Vermaak was dan juis in die chopper gewees, so daar was direkte kommunikasie tussen Vermaak.
That is correct, Chairperson. And when we look at the transcript, it has been stated that the communication was actually between Colonel Vermaak and Kalitz through to the jog.
Inyani ngoba naxa sijonga kaloku bungqina bubhalwe phantsi kwabakho uthungelwano nokhona ke ngophakathi ko-Vermaak kunye nobrigadier Kalitz bekwazi uthetha nabantu abapha kwijog.
Would you have been in a position to be aware of those communications whilst in the jog and what the nature of the communications were?
Jemba kwijog wawuyivana into eyayithethwa apho ngeli xesha kwakho uthungelwano.
Dit is korrek, voorsitter, ek het sodanig getuig.
Correct, Chairperson. I have given evidence to this effect.
Ewe injalo sihlalo ke ndithethile loo nto kubungqina bam.
Now, again, this is an area I'm not certain, and I will call upon your assistance. I have been looking at some photos in Exhibit L, slide 210, I think.
Into engaqinisekanga ngayo le kodwa ke uya kundinceda ke wena ngayo. Kho ifoto bendizijongile ke ngopha kuxwebhu lamapolisa u-L pha slide 210.
For one moment, just pay no attention to what is written there. Protesters witnessed the police to it. Now, in relation to that, I would like to know whether Colonel Vermaak, was it? Colonel Vermaak was taking any photos whilst in the air by his Blackberry.
Ngokubhekisela kwezi foto ezi ke ngoku ndifuna ukwazi into yoba uColonel Vermaak ngexesha wayepha kwinqwelontaka ikhona ifoto na wazithatha esebenzisa iBlackberry yakhe.
Voorsitter, soos ek het verneem het Luitenant-kolonel Vermaak met sy Blackberry selfoon as ook met ek weet nie of het 'n Canon stilkamera of digitale kamera het hy foto's geneem.
Chairperson, as far as I know, yes, there were photos taken by Colonel Kalitz with his Blackberry cell phone, and also Vermaak also with his, I think it's a Canon still or digital camera.
Yes.
Ewe zikhona ke ngeBlackberry abazithathayo uColonel Vermaak ifoto kwakunye ke nangekhamera ke leyakhe imifanekiso.
If my daughter, who was 14 years old, had not introduced me to it, I wouldn't know about it. But I believe there's something called BBM. Now, would those be photographs that would have been BBM'd by Colonel Vermaak into the jog, or are you aware?
Uba ke intombi yam eniminyaka i-14 yayingandifundisanga ezo nto zibizwa i-BBM bendingenawo ukwazi into ngazo. Ngoku ke akho foto phaa kujog azithumeleyo yena uColonel Vermaak esebenzisa i-BBM leyo.
Because I've never heard of this phrase BBM. No, Chairperson. There were photos sent through. I do not know if these 4 pictures specifically were the ones that were sent through, but Colonel Vermaak from time to time did send through photos via BBM to Brigadier Pretorius.
Azikhona ke ifoto ke zathunyelwayo phaa kuColonel Vermaak ethumela uBrigadier Pretorius lo andiyazi noba uyisebenzisa kwalo BBM leyo ke.
And I'm just exploring with you whether he would be sending them as he was taking them, because I see on those photos that they purport to have times in them, 1540, 1549, 1550, etc. But what I would like to know is whether, in your recollection, he was BBMing, sending these BBMs into the jock as he was taking them in the aircraft.
Ngoku into endifuna uyiqonda inxa uba ndiyabona ezi foto kubhalwe namaxesha apha kuzo wayezithumela ngo-BBM na leyo ngeli xesha wayezithatha ngalo ezi foto na?
Voorzitter, ek het geantwoord dat hy het van die foto's wat hy geneem het met sy Blackberry selfoon, het hy deur ge-BBM aan Brigadier Pretorius. Ek weet nie of hierdie 4 eerstens geneem was met die Blackberry en of al 4 dan deurgestuur is en of enige van hulle deurgestuur is nie. Ek weet werklik nie.
Yes, very
I have stated in my evidence, Chairperson, that there were photos that he had sent to Brigadier Pretorius, but whether it's any one of these 4 others, I am not.
Njengoba benditshilo kubungqina bami into yoba kaloku zikhona ezi foto wazithumela ke ngokuphaa ku-Brigadier Pretorius. Andazi into yoba ngenye yazo ezi zine zilapha na.
That's fair enough, General. Those questions may well be put to either Kenneth and Mark or is it Brigadier Pretorius or both of them. But I'm told that the 4th slide, bottom right-hand corner. I can see it from here, but I'm made to believe that if it was blown, it would show dead bodies. Probably the bodies that one sees on, in front of the crawl, the one sees on slide 208. There is even an arrow in slide 210. Where is this arrow? Oh, no, there's no arrow. It was a cursor from my junior. But are you in a position, do you know if slide 210 at the bottom right corner would show dead bodies on the ground?
Into endiyibuzayo ifuna uyiqonda into yoba ke ngoku esi slide endigqibothetha ngaso phaya kumbi.
I've got an idea, perhaps Ms. Pillay can help us. I've got an idea that the bottom right-hand corner of 210 is in a blown-up form, is an exhibit, but I can't lay my hands on it. If you can tell us, I hope.
That would assist us, Mr. Chairman, if...
It can perhaps be blown up, but I thought I'd seen it somewhere as an exhibit, but I may be wrong.
Chair, I'll just have a look at it. I do recall that it is a separate exhibit as well. I'll give you the exhibit number.
Recollection is the same as mine. It's just a question of finding it. Right. So that, if you can find it for us, that will help us a lot, I think.
There's a similar exhibit, Chair. It's W21, 2 brackets 1.
Exhibit W21.
So the UU2 series, there's 3 photographs and they're different angles of the same scene.
got black and white copies of those, but I take it there are coloured, technicolour versions around.
They are coloured. And the particular one at slide 210 is UU2 sub 3. That's that particular photograph.
While we're waiting, possibly we could ask the technicians who are assisting us if it's possible to blow that, if that's the correct word, blow that picture up. It sounds a bit explosive, but if you can, they can do it in a non-explosive way, it'll help us.
UU21, the color photograph seems to be quite indicative, which is why I think what we are alleging is shown in Exhibit 208, Exhibit L208. That probably is the same picture as what we see in front of the call. To 10, yeah.
That's UU3.
Yeah.
Where is that? Where are they? Are you saying this is not the same as this? Let's stick with 210.
Not possible to move on to something else while we're waiting for the photograph that you wish to put before the witness.
Mr. Chairman, I also would like to play a 1-minute video clip. I believe that it's been arranged, it's ready.
We're effectively waiting for the 1-minute video clip to be put into position so we can see it. So, all right, that's all right.
I was made to believe that it is being arranged. Oh, it's being arranged.
This is free, Mr. Ntsebeza.
Entire community here today seems like it's on a knife edge, and of course people are obviously apprehensive. Probably some of the people gathered here.
I asked you, Mr. Ntsebeza, is it necessary that a warning be given?
Chair, in the
I'm
meantime,
told that there is no shooting that takes place.
No, but not just shooting. If there are dead bodies lying around, they're identifiable to their next of kin, then that causes distress. Mr. Ntsebeza wants to make a contribution. Yes, Mr. Ntsebeza.
Chair, just so that I can follow, is the video to be shown the one that was BBM'd? Because the point I think is being made is that the BBM photos would have communicated to the people in the jog that those bodies are dead. Now, if you are being shown a video, I just want to know that's the video that was also BBM'd.
As far as I can see, is something from the E-News channel. Presumably wasn't what was sent to the people in the dock. But anyway, but I mustn't answer your question because I don't really know the answer. Let's find out from Mr. Ntsebeza. You've heard Mr. Semenya's question.
The simple point that we want to make, and we can make it without even showing the video, if that is acceptable, is that and the video will show that the timing of the E-News, breaking news, was at 16:30. That at 16:30, the news was being broadcast throughout the world.
So this is now a different point.
It's a different point.
No. Mr. Semenya was concerned to know whether you were going to ask the witness about the
no, it's not linked to
photographs
the
that were
BBM,
sent
Mr. Chairman.
to the jock. And via
I was
Blackberry
just
messenger.
responding to the chair saying, is there anything else whilst we are waiting for...
Yes, no, I understand. You're dealing with a different point, and you want to show these pictures, this video clip to the witness.
Yes.
Okay. So the answer to your question is it falls away at this stage. So shall we carry on? Is
Well,
that right?
Chair, the evidence is also that at 16:30 the witness knew. So what are we making, what point are we searching for now?
Well, you mustn't ask me the question. Let's ask Mr. Ntsebeza. You hear what Mr. Semenya says. He says it's common cause. The witness knew at 4:30 p.m. So, so it's not necessary for you to prove that. So what are we going to look at this video for, he says. I can't answer him, so perhaps you can.
I don't think it is common cause because the witness says it's not common cause that's why we are putting these questions to him, that it's unlikely, highly improbable, that the only time that he got to know about...
Witness told you yesterday, Mr. Ntsebeza, that he knew about the deaths at 4:30. That's where we got this 40 minutes from, remember, 10 to 4 to 4:30. Mr. Semenya's point is, if it's accepted that the people in the jock knew at 4:30 that there were deaths, then how does it help us to show a video clip from the E-News channel at 4:30? But that's his question. I can't answer him. So perhaps you can.
I would have thought that you would have canvassed that question in re-examination, but, it's a free country. It's a free process.
In the circumstances, I'll let you show the video, but before it's shown, I must say that there may well be the images on this video clip which will cause distress to some of the people present who are relations and loved ones of some of the people who were killed, and the clip is pleased not to be shown until 2 minutes after what I've now said has been translated into Xhosa.
Into agqiba ukuyithetha ngokusihlalo into yokuba njengoba ke ngokuzawudlalwa umboniso lo kanye ivideo le efumaneke phaa kwi-TV kungenzeka into yoba abantu ke abathi basweleka bangavela nabo apha ke kwabo bangaphazamiseka kakhulu emphefumlweni ke ngenxa yezinto ezawuvela phaya banikwa ke imizuzu emibini into yokuba bake baphume ngaphandle xeshana nje.
Chair, if we could ask the families just to indicate for the purposes of the record the reference for the video that's about to be shown.
What must we ask the families to indicate?
The reference, whether it's an exhibit already, and if not, what the pathway is of the video that's about to be shown.
Mr. Ntsebeza, you've heard Ms. Pilay's request. I don't think we've seen this. I think this is an exhibit, so it's got to be given an exhibit number. So it'll be part of the record of the Commission.
Mr. Chair, it's not as yet an exhibit. Can we give you the pathway during the tea break? Because we don't have it to hand.
I'll call it Exhibit G 41, video clip EC News, is it? E-News, 4:30 p.m., 16 August 2012. And then the pathway, the pathway will be supplied later. Thank you.
Kuthiwa ke ngoku le video leya kuzawube iqala udlalwa apha namhlanje sesiyithiye negama ke sizayibiza u-Triple G41.
Now, in the meantime, Mr. Chairman, I've been advised that Exhibit L, slide 210, can't be blown up or can't be blown upper or more than it has been blown in the exhibit.
He saw it as far as they could blow it up, and it wasn't clear enough. But Ms. Pillay and I have a recollection that it may be already before us an exhibit in enlarged form. And but let's carry on with your news clip for the time
Yes.
being.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Now, Brigadier, all I seek to put to you for your comment is that if Exhibit L210 was being sent by way of BBM to Brigadier Pretorius, if you were, who was in the chalk with you as you were watching the unfolding of the operation, the probability is that he would have shown it to you. Would you disagree with that?
Ukuba ke ngoku ezinto lapha ku-Exhibit 210 izaba ziifoto ezathunyelwa ke ngoku.
Brigadier Pretorius is a lady, I take it you're referring to her. The probability is that she would have shown it to you.
Oh, I'm sorry, ma. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Chairman.
Isn't that a question it's a question you could ask her if she comes, but in the meanwhile, I suppose you can put the question to the witnesses you have done, and we can wait for his answer.
No, I will ask her if she is called as a witness, but I just wanted to just raise it.
Umbuzo ke ngoku obuzwayo into yokuba njengoba kuthiwa wazithumela nge-BBM uBrigadier Pretorius mindizathunyelwa kuBrigadier Pretorius esifoto ngo-BBM lo wayephaa kujog kwakunye ke noGeneral Annandale kunakwenzeka into yoba mhlawumbi wambonisa kwangolo xesha yena uBrigadier Pretorius ebonisa ke ngoku uMajor General Annandale.
Voorsitter, ek dink is paar aannames wat hier gemaak word. Eerstens dat die foto aangestuur was, soos die advokaat reg gesê het. Dan tweedens dat op 'n BBM of op 'n Blackberry skerm dat mens sou besonderhede waarneem en dan besonderhede pertinent verwysend na die liggame wat lê langs die kraal. En dan derdens dat alle foto's wat sy ontvang het, dat sy dit aan my getoon het. So sy sal net self kan sê of sy elke foto gewys het. Wat die reëling was, as ek en generaal Mpembe nie teenwoordig was in die jog nie, dan het sy gewoonlik vir ons foto's aangestuur wat sy gekry het om ons op hoogte te hou. Uiteraard was ek tydens die voorval was beide ek en generaal Mpembe was ons teenwoordig in die jog.
During this occurrence, both me and General Mpembe were present in the jog, but Brigadier Pretorius would, whenever me or General Mpembe wasn't, and photos had been sent to her, she would then update us when we came in. This I'm saying as a result of remarks that were made by advocate, whether these were BBM'd to her and whether this was shown to us, she would be able to explain that further.
So I said he could confirm that this photograph was sent by BBM Blackberry. I think BBM stands for Blackberry.
BBM or Blackberry.
And that when it's blown up, one can see bodies on it. That's what he said also. But he then added what you've translated.
Into ayigqiboyithetha ke ngoku into yokuba njengoba wayephaa nokunye noGeneral Mpembe apho ukuba ke ngoku babe yayenzeka loo nto athunyelwe ifoto ezo nge-BBM bona bengekho wabe sithi ke xa besebefikile noGeneral Mpembe baziboniswe kwezo foto kwaye ke kwi-BBM kanye kwifowuni leyo bazikhulise ezi foto ezi.
My Afrikaans is nie heeltemal vlot, voorsitter, maar ek het nie die getuies so gehoor.
What's her name?
Afrikaans is not that fluent, but that's not how I understood the witness.
Perhaps, perhaps the witness can repeat what he said.
My apologies for creating all this confusion, Chairperson. Chairperson, basically I said that there were three assumptions basically made. One, that the actual BBM was forwarded to Brigadier Pretorius. Secondly, if she received it, that on the small screen of a Blackberry cell phone, that she would have been in a position to actually identify the bodies, as we know now, when you enlarge it, and that you can actually see that there are bodies lying around. And then the third assumption, that she would have shown it to me, and then I think the interpreter explained in terms of what was the arrangement when both, or either of myself or General Mpembe, when we were outside of the jock, she would have sent it through. But at the time of this incident, both Mpembe and myself, we were present in the jock.
Usando ichaza khona kwalento beyithetha ke ngoku izinto ezintathu bezithethe kaphi into yoba ke ngoku ngeli xesha zazithunyelwa kuye ngo-BBM Brigadier Pretorius into yoba benoba usibonisile kwaye nebantu bebonakala izidumbu ezi zazidundulu zapho zikhona, kodwa into gqiba yithetha kakhona into yoba kaloku ngeli xesha yonke lesenzeka yena kunye noGeneral Mpembe babekhona phaa kwijok.
General, you are so fluent in English, and I'm not going back to what we said about it being your constitutional right to express yourself in English. Is it not because perhaps you want to have more time to think when questions are put to you?
No, Mr. Ntsebeza, we had that out yesterday. And I ruled that he has the fullest right to testify in his home language. I said if I was in his position the other way around, I would take questions in Afrikaans and wish to answer in English, to be more at ease, to express myself properly. But I said to you, it's a double-edged sword, because if he says something later which you seek to use against him, he won't be able to say he couldn't express himself properly because he was speaking his home language. So there are pros and cons, so I would take them both and proceed as we are.
Yes.
It's his right to, and he must be at ease and must feel confident that he's able to express himself fully.
Chairperson,
I won't take that right away from him.
Chairperson, I still dream in Afrikaans and I think in Afrikaans, so I must translate it myself after thinking in Afrikaans to English.
Njengoba besitsho ke ngoku yena uba uNtsebeza into yoba awu general kaloku isingesi apha kuye siphumana ngempumlo. Into ayithethayo ke ngoku yena usihlalo into yoba hayi kaloku lulwimi lakhe kwaye umgaqoseko uyamnikela ulungelo into yoba angalithetha ngelwimi lakhe, naye ke ugqiba uzithethelela ngokuthi ke naxa ndiphupha kaloku ndiphupha ngesibhulu kwaye noba into funeka ndiyise esingesini funeka ndiqale ndiyicinge uba nge-Afrikaans ibekwa njani phambi ndiyise apha esingesini.
Let's go back to the joke, General. I just want to understand.
See, the video clip was that now we've already given an exhibit number. If we're not going to use it, we'll have to delete that. But I can't tell you how to run your cross-examination, but I'm a little bit lost at the moment, but that's my fault, I know.
No, Chair, we're just concluding the aspect about the BBMs, and then whilst we're whiling away time, I was getting, what is this thing? I'm told SAPS, what's this?
That's the password.
Yeah.
Sorry, the 2 points. I understand you were busy with this picture, bottom right-hand corner, slide 210, and you wanted an enlargement, and I think the witness has substantially answered the point that you were making, unless there's some further information you want from him. But while we thought it was necessary to look for an enlargement of this picture, you introduced another exhibit, which I already gave an exhibit number, a video clip showed at 4:30, and then when the enlargement came, you dropped the video clip and you went back to it, understandably. What I want to know from you, are you going back to the video clip, or can I delete it as an exhibit, so we can use that description, G41, for something else? That's all I want to know from you.
Chair, we will be going back to the video clip. We're just, as far as I understand, there are another 2 or 3 questions on the point of the photo.
That's in order. Thank you. And I understand what's going on. I'm sorry I didn't before.
We are blessed with juniors who understand these things, Mr. Chairman. Some of us are very challenged.
If I may say so, this is red bag territory. Do you agree?
Mr. Chairman?
This is red bag territory.
Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. One is waiting in the wings. Now, I was just to finish off the Exhibit L to 10. Do you disagree with the proposition that, and it's put on the basis that if the Blackberry messages were being sent by Colonel Farlam to Pretorius, and she received them there at the times that you were there watching the operation, the likelihood is that she would have shown you as they were being BBM'd, more than wait until everything else has happened and then say, by the way, I had these BBM messages. What in your view would be the likelihood?
Into endiyibuzayo ke ukuba le awuyivume na le into ba kungenzeka xa nisithi kungenzeka into ba ngeli xesha ke uColonel Farlam wayezithumela nge-BBM pha ku Brigadier Pretorius ezi photo waye kubonisa kanye nibonisa kwangelo xesha sasifika ngayo ke ngopha kumnxeba wakhe.
Voorsitter, ek aanvaar as hy iets substansieel gesien het wat my aandag sou geverg het, sou sy het vir my gewys het. Sy het ook sekerlik haar eie goeie oordeel in terme van net 'n foto wat wys dat daar 'n groepering steeds op die koppie is. Net sy sal kan getuig of sy elke foto en nog net selektiewe foto's aan my oorgedra het.
Chairperson, I accept if that there was anything substantial on the photo that was showing there was some grouping that she would have done so, but she has decisions. She has authority to make decisions as to her own judgment. She has her own judgment.
No, what I'm saying is, I mean, if, for instance, the BBM 210 at the relevant BBM exhibit L210 right-hand corner is showing dead bodies, that's the kind of thing that she would instantly come and show to everybody else in the job.
Into endithethayo ke umzekelo pha xa sijonge apha ku-exhibit L uba benofumana into enjalo ke ngokupha kuyimfonomfono yakhe apho kwakuzobonakala izidumbu ke ngokuzidunduluzile apho yinto ke ngoku ayenothi kwangeli xesha efumana ngalo ezo foto avele abonise bonke abantu ababelapho.
Voorsitter, as sy die sodanige BBM ontvang het en as sy liggame identifiseer het, het nie twyfel dat sy dit in ons sou gewys het nie.
Bodies.
Chairperson, I said that should she have received the specific BBM, the reference that the advocate is making, and she would have identified bodies on the photo, I have no doubt that she would have shown it to us.
Ukuba nyani ke wayesifumene ke ngoku ezi photo kwimfonomfono yakhe andithandabuzi ngaleyo ke yinto ayenoyenza kwangelo xesha vele asibonise zona.
Now, General, there's an aspect that arose yesterday, and I want to be clear in my own mind that I understood it well. And please understand that I am not picking up a fight with you, and I'm not also picking a fight with anybody. I understood you to be agreeing to a suggestion from the chair, and the chair will forgive me if I have also misunderstood the suggestion, that it was only with the benefit of hindsight that you realized that people would die as a result of the execution of the plan. Did I understand you well?
Ukuba ndiyaphazama ke ngoku uyawundilungisa kuloo nto leyo, kodwa ke sakhonto nje mfuna uyicacise ingathi uthe ukuba uzocingisa ngento yenzekileyo emva nba yenzekile nyani ke uba nizolandela esi sicwangciso loo nto leyo yayizokhokhelela ekuswelekeni okanye kwenzekeni kwale ntlekele yathi yenzeka phaa. Into oyithethileyo leyo?
Voorsitter, nee, ek het dit nie gesê nie.
No, I did not say that, Chairperson.
Khange ndiyithethe loo nto sihlalo.
Oh, I see.
I didn't make that suggestion either, but I think when we look at the transcript, we'll see what exactly was said. But I didn't say that. I said something different.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That is the benefit of raising these issues for purposes of not proceeding on a false premise. You see, the families, General, are in no position, and I'll tell you why. Are in no position to accept that the deaths of those who were killed by the police was something that was not foreseeable. Do you understand?
Intsapho ke ndifuna ukuthi ke ngoku thina nentsapho sikwazi ukuba ukuyamkela into yokuba ukusweleka kwabantu zange ibe yinto eyacingelwa okanye eyayinolindelo uba yayinokwenzeka leyo.
And it may or may not have been put to you by other counsel, but I just want, on behalf of the families, to put the following propositions to you.
Ngenzeka into yoba amanye amagqwetha ayithetha ngento enjalo kuwe, kodwa ke ndizawuthetha into kuwe ezi zinto zilandelayo.
And of course, you can merely say you agree or disagree, because if you have been asked these questions by other counsel, the record will speak for itself.
Uzawuthi xa undiphendula utsho uba uvumelana nam ke ngoku okanye awuvumelane nam.
Firstly, as we explored yesterday, the intelligence reports that you had. Oh no, let me take a step back. When you, as a witness who's now on the stand, after the briefing that you got from the National Commissioner, and you decided on the mobilization of reinforcements to come and deal with the situation, you specifically mentioned 2 units, the NIU, the TRT, and of course the STF. And it will be our submission that you knew and you foresaw that those units would use sharp ammunition because they use sharp ammunition to contend with any situation. They carry sharp weapons.
Usando utsho ke ngoku advocate Ntsebeza into yokuba ke ngemva kokuba ingxelo inikwe ukomishinala jikelele nangeli xesha yena ugeneral apho njengele wathatha isigqibo ke sokuba kuzobandakanywa okanye kuziswe amacandelo amapolisa asebenza ke ngoku imiphu bazosebenza kulo meko. Uye wakhankanya ke i-NIU ne-TRT nokuba kwabakhona i-STF. Uthi ke into bazawuyitsho kwingxoxo-mpikiswano into yokubana babeyazi into yokuba ngenxa yoba la macandelo ke asebenza ke imbumbulu zentsimbi, le nto iyenzekayo ke yayinokwenzeka ngoba zonke imeko abathi basebenze kuzo basebenzisa ezo zixhobo zinjalo ke imbumbulu ezo zentsimbi.
Yes, General. Do you have a comment to make?
Ufuna ukuphefumula ke kule nto nigqiba uyitsho?
Voorsitter, ja, as ek my sal begin. Die
If you could
nasionale kommissaris het nie die
allow me,
betrokke
Chairperson.
eenhede gemobiliseer nie.
It was not the National Commissioner that mobilized the units.
I didn't say that, General.
Dit was ook nie as gevolg van haar toeligting wat hulle gemobiliseer is nie.
It was also not as a result of her briefing that these were mobilized.
Ayingu Commissioner jikelele ke owabiza lamacandelo kwaye akungenxa yengxelo yayiphuma apho ke ekhona into yakhokela ba makubizwe lo macandelo.
Voorsitter, NIU en TRT was reeds sedert die Sondag was hulle op die toneel gewees. Ek het addisionele NIU lede gemobiliseer en dan ook STF.
Chairperson, the NIU and the TRT had already been there from Sunday. I just put additional members there and then the STF.
Ukususela ke ngoyecawa babesebephabwa nabe NIU ne TRT kodwa ndongeza inani mna kwaye ndabiza ne STF.
Alle bevoegde lede wat aangestel is onder Suid-Afrikaanse Polisiewet dra skerpend ammunisie.
They are members appointed by the South African Police, qualified people. They do carry sharp, they do use sharp ammunition.
Kwamalungu ke ngoku maqeqeshweyo ke ngamapolisa abaphatha ke ngoku imbumbulu ezo zentsimbi.
So just a correction, Chairperson, not all members appointed by the South African Police, those members appointed under the South African Police Act. So
those members appointed under the South African Police Act, yes.
that excludes the members that's appointed under the Public Service Act, which is more our support-related personnel.
Ucheke ngokuba akathi ngamapolisa wonke aqeqeshelwe ukusebenza ke ngelo hlobo le kodwa ke lamapolisa uthe aqeqeshwe okanye aqeqeshwe ngaphansi komthetho ke wamapolisa ngaphandle ke kweenkonzo ke zika wonke.
Voorsitter, die gebruik van skerpend ammunisie was nooit deel van die plan nie.
Chairperson, the use of sharp ammunition was not part of the plan.
Zange beyinxalenye ke yesicwangciso ukusebenzisa imbumbulu zentsimbi.
Skerpend ammunisie was nooit gebruik om die skare of die stakers uiteen te dryf nie.
Sharp ammunition is not used for dispersal actions.
Kaloku imbumbulu zentsimbi azisetyenziswa ukuchitha abantu.
En dan jy sal merk dat selfs by toneel 2 dat daar lede van openbare orde polisieering ook skerpend ammunisie hulle self gebruik het.
You will realize that on scene 2 that even members of the public order policing did use sharp ammunition.
Awujonga ke isehlo indawo eqhola lesibini amapolisa ke ngoku ePop nawo azisebenzisa imbumbulu zentsimbi.
Nou die gebruik van skerpend ammunisie in die geval by Marikana was in selfverdediging en in terme van noodweer.
That the use of sharp ammunition at Marikana was in self-defense and private defense.
And noodweer is actually a necessity, I would think. But I think he probably meant self-defense and private defense. But he said
That's how I understood it.
Dis reg, jy het my al daarop gewys, voorsitter.
Uthi ke ukusetyenziswa kwentsimbi imbumbulu zentsimbi kwakungenxa yokuba amapolisa esikhusela kwanye ekhusela kwa nabanye.
General, I hear you. The only point I wanted to make is that fatalities were foreseeable. When you deploy, as you did, or as you sanctioned the deployment of TRT, STI, STF, and NIU units.
Ndiyakuva kodwa into endisame kuyinto kuba le nto yokuba ke ngoku kuthunyelwe amapolisa amacandelo NIU ne-TRT ne-STF into eyayilindelekile into yokuba ke ngoku kwakunokwenzeka ukuba kubekho ukubhubha kwabantu apho.
And to the extent that it is going to be necessary to explore this, I'll explore this with other SAPS witnesses.
Phofu ke loo nto into endizawuthi ndiyichancathe kwaye ndiyishukuxe kunye namanye amangqina ke amapolisa.
Voorsitter, ons het nie sterftes voorsien in terme van die beplanning nie.
According to the plan, Chairperson, we did not foresee fatalities.
Ngokwesicwangciso eso ke ngokubhubha kwabantu into esingazange siyilindele uba yayinokwenzeka.
Voorsitter, ons moet daarop let dat spesiale taak mag het nie 'n skoot afgevuur nie.
We have to note that the special task force did not fire any weapon.
Sijongisene into yoba kaloku bona zange badubule aba bangamalungu STF.
Voorsitter, en dit is irrelevant wie individue is van watse eenhede as sodanige persoon in 'n situasie kom waar daar dreigende geweld is op sodanige persoon of ander persone se lewe.
It is irrelevant, Chairperson, to say which unit used what, depending, it would have been the situation determining what kind of ammunition, of arms to be used.
No, I think the witness is saying something different, Mr. Interpreter. It does not matter which unit any member belong to if they used their weapons in private defense.
Thanks. Yona nto athethayo into ba into engamandla le ukuba ipolisa elonke kweliphi icandelo kodwa ke ukuba into engumnqa into ba xa esebenzise isixhobo sakhe ezikhusela ngaso.
Other than just the video, that is where we are resting our laurels.
One normally rests on one's laurels if one has them. But, all right, are we now going to see the video that I've already marked in anticipation, 33341? And we gave you the warning again. I did give a warning before, so we understand that there may well be images here which will cause distress to members of the family and the loved ones of some of the people who died on the 16th of August. And I would ask that this not be shown until 2 minutes have expired after what I've now said has been translated into Xhosa.
Uthi ke besethethile ke ngaphambili yena usihlalo apho belumkisa intsapho into bangenzeka kule video izawudlalwa lapha kuvezwe ke amaxhoba okanye abantu abathi basweleka ngoku uyayiphinda ke lonto kwaye unika babo ke ngobazawuchaphazeleka kakhulu ukuba baphumele ngaphandle.
Entire community here today seems like it's on a knife edge, and of course people are obviously apprehensive. Probably some of the people
gathered here or the onlookers, some of their relatives may possibly, if there's anybody who has died here today, may possibly have been part of those.
Yes, we're watching those visuals right now, Polly. You can see a large crowd has gathered around the area. Obviously, people must have heard the gunfire, the volley of gunfire in which people fell. We saw police a short while ago in those live visuals. You're looking at live visuals on your screens right now at Lonmin mine, where there was a massive confrontation between police who moved in to break up striking workers, and a number of people were killed in the process. Exact numbers still unclear, but it could be as many as 12 people there. We saw police a short while ago on that crime scene, Polly, obviously trying to assess exactly what had happened. And as you're saying, huge crowds gathering, and amongst them probably some very, very anxious relatives trying to find out what's happened.
Certainly, Deborah. Some of those people there, I suspect that they are some of the striking mine workers who obviously were striking on that.
Jen, I don't know whether you saw at the foot of the video clip the time 16:31. Did you see that?
Ek het dit waargeneem, voorsitter.
I saw it, Chairperson.
And the only point I wish to make, and it may not even for you to comment on, unless you want to, is that we will argue that it is highly improbable for a person who was central to the operation on the day, who had actually even given the time when it should start, that when everybody else in the country certainly, and possibly in the whole world, knew by 1631, at least in terms of this clip, that miners had been killed, that you did not know until you were told at 4:30 or thereabouts by somebody else. We'll argue that that is highly improbable.
Into ayitshoyo ke ngoku yena u-advocate Ntsebeza into yoba le nto ayithethayo unjengeli into yoba waqala ukwazi into yoba abantu baswelekile ngecala emva kwentsimbi yesine ekubeni ke ilizwe lonke lona liselisazi ke emva komzuzu omnye emva bayisanda ukwazi yena unjengele into yoba abantu baswelekile njengoba loo nto yayipapashwa nakumajelo osasazo. Uthi into esayithetha ke ngoku kuyingxoxo-mpikiswano into yoba yinto engekhoyo leyo, into esayithetha ke leyo apha thina.
Voorzitter, al kommentaar wat ek het is, ons was nie bewus daarvan nie vir die redes wat ek
On the
net
comment,
na verwys het gedurende my getuienis.
Chairperson, is what I've already said in my evidence. We are not already for the reasons that I had given already my evidence.
Ebungqineni bam ke bendisendichazile ndatsho izizathu into yoba kutheni ke ngelaa xesha ndandingazi ngezo nto zazisenzeka apho.
And Mr. Chairman, for the reasons that I've given, the only thing that I can say is that that is the end of my cross-examination.
Thank you, Mr. Ntsebeza. Who is next to cross-examine? Mr. Tip.
I believe it is me. Thank you, Chair.
Just so we can plan the rest of the day, after you have finished cross-examining, who's going to cross-examine?
I think that I'm the last, as far as I know.
I see. Then we'll have the re-examination, obviously.
Ugqibile ke yena ubawo uNtsebeza ngoku ke uba uThip omele inum kuye ke ukuza uqhubekeka.
Voorsitter, met die vergunning en dis 'n behoefte wat ek het, ek weet nie of ek weer die geleentheid gaan kry om met die families te praat nie.
Chairperson, it's with your permission. I don't know if I will get the chance to speak to the families.
Nguwe ke uyawunika imvumo esihlalo, andazi noba ndinganikwa ithuba ukuba ndikwazi ukuba ndithethe neentsapho na.
Voorsitter, ek wil net sê dat my...
If you wish to say something to the families, using this forum as a means of communication for doing so, I will allow you to do so.
Thank you, sir.
Uthi ke uba unomnqweno wokwenza loo nto leyo kwaye usebenzise lithuba wenze njalo, ndiza kuvumela into yoba ke uyenze loo nto leyo.
Voorsitter, ek wil net sê dat my hart gaan uit na die familie vir elke geliefde wat hulle in die dood afgestaan het.
I just want to say, Mr. Chairperson, that my heart goes out to each and every member, family of anyone who lost his life.
Ndifuna ke ukuthi inhliziyo yami inabo ke ngoku bathe baphulukana nezalamane zabo.
Ek is terdee bewus van die leemte wat dit laat in elkeen se lewe.
I am aware of the gap that it leaves in everybody's life.
Ndinolwazi ke ngesithuba kanye into ishiye ebomini bomntu omnye nomnye.
Voorsitter, my vrou verwys altyd daarna na die ripple effek wat dit het soos as mense 'n klippie op die water gooi.
My wife always refers to it, Mr. Chairperson, as the ripple effect when a person throws a stone into the water.
xa ethetha ngayo ke yona nenkosikazi yam ithetha ngento ethi iyenzeka ingakumbi xa umuntu egibisela ke ilitye emanzini.
En ek weet die effek is baie wyer as net die feit dat haar geliefde verlore is.
I know the effect is much broader than a lover missing the partner, the loved one.
Uthi ke ngoku lonto ndiyayazi ukuba iba into ephangaleleyo ke ngoku ingaphezu nje kokuba umuntu alahlekela kanye aphulukane kwenye nesalamane sakhe besithanda.
Ek weet dat haar broodwinner verloor is en dat haar pa, seun en broer verloor is.
I know that there are breadwinners lost in this instance, fathers, sons and brothers.
Uthi ke ndiyayazi into yokuba baninzi ke abo ingabo abondla iintsapho zabo abathe bona basweleka abanye ibingotata abanye balahlekelwe ngabantakwabo.
En ook eggenote.
And also husbands.
Nabayeni.
Voorzitter, ek wil net meld dat die gebruik van vuurwapens is 'n skielike en 'n dinamiese proses en dit het potensieel traumatische uitwerkings. So
I know the use of a firearm, Chairperson, is a traumatic and a
dynamic
process.
Uyazi nendlela ke ngoku esebenza ngayo ke ngoku imipu.
En die lede van die Suid-Afrikaanse Polisiediens is ook diep geraak deur die sterftes.
And the lives of the South African police was also deeply affected by these incidents.
Na nobomi ke ba mapolisa ke baye bona bachaphazeleka kakhulu ke ilonto ethi yenzeka.
Dankie vir die geleentheid, voorsitter.
Thanks for the privilege, Chairperson.
Enkosi ke unipha ilithuba sihlalo.
Mr. Chairman, may I just, through you, express my sense of what I consider. Whilst I thank the chairman for having given the general the opportunity. In my experience, certainly in the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, a sentiment such as the one that is expressed by the general is best expressed in person, in circumstances that have been arranged, where there would be an expression of anger, but at the end of it, forgiveness and reconciliation. We have just seen what has happened as a consequence. And I would urge that if the general really wishes to reach out, that he uses these facilities to arrange a private meeting through the lawyers representing the families, at which, in a private ceremony, those sentiments would be expressed. They would be better received than they have been now, because there are still raw wounds there, Mr. Chairman. And the manner to deal with it is to ensure that the environment has been created where dialogue will take place under controlled circumstances, and the aim and the result would be forgiveness and reconciliation.
Into agqiboyisha ke ngoku yena ubawo uNtsebeza into kubana ke ngoku uyabulela ke unjengele ngento agqibo yenza kodwa ke uthe yona ndlela angabonisa uvelwano lakhe ngayo unjengele xa kuzokwenzwa kaloku amalungiselelo ngoba kaloku abantu bazobonisa ingakumbi xa kunjena kwindawo eziloluhlobo inqumbo yabo kodwa ke ekugqibeleni kufuneka kubekho ke ngoku ukuxolelana kukhoyo uthi umzekelo siyabona into egqibo kwenzeka ngoku kodwa ke ngoku uthi yena into ebinokwenzeka icinga uba akholelwa uba ibhetele kukuba yena unjengele adibane kunamagqwetha amele intsapho kwaye kuba dibane bucala apho kuzokwenza amalungiselelo into yoba ke ngoku bazokwazi ke uthetha nabantu ngoba kaloku namanxeba abantu ke bakaphili bona ngaphakathi zisatyumkile iintliziyo zabo ngoko ke ukuba kungenzeka uba badibane bucala ngandlela ethile ke ngoku kulapho ekugqibeleni ke ngoku kuzawubakho iziphumo kuzawubakho nokuxolelana emva koko.
Chairperson, you wish to say something too?
Yes, thank you, Chairperson. If I may add, and I think also like Mr. Ntsebeza, I just want to say to the General that the comments we make do not take anything away from your expression of your feelings, which I'm sure are appreciated by the Commission and at least some of the people. But I just want to echo what Mr. Ntsebeza was saying, and I don't want to repeat what he said. I just want to remind the Commission that a similar sentiment as expressed by Mr. Ntsebeza was expressed by me to the National Commissioner. And that is why I said to her that I don't want her to address the issue of even the allegations that were made against her, but that I was hoping that she would take the opportunity to deal with the families and the victims in her own time, outside the glare of the cameras, so that those sentiments might have a better effect than they did when she expressed them on the podium here. And I'm saying that because the walkout that just occurred now, as one might have noticed, included some of the family members of the victims, of the deceased ones, but also some of the people that I represent who are the injured. And I'm sure in all our wisdom as South Africans, we will find a method, including what has been said by Mr. Ntsebeza and myself, where some form of reconciliation or clarification of stances can be done. And if the Commission is able to facilitate that, then we will request the Commission to facilitate it, just so that we avoid this contradictory situations, because this is now happening for the second time. When the National Commissioner expressed the same feelings, we had a negative reaction. And I think we're also now experiencing the same thing. And I'm sure that's not in anybody's best interest. So I'm sure we will maybe put our heads together with the Commission to try and provide a separate forum where this thing can be done properly. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Mr. Mbofu. Mr. Semenya, I was proposing to take the tea German now, but if you wish to say something before I do so, I'll allow you.
Chair, I have nothing to say.
We will bear in mind what has been said, and we appreciate what you've also said about the sincerity of what the General said. We'll now take the tea German.
Sayophunga siyabuya khona xa siqoba uphunga iti.
Commission is commencing. Masukumeni.
Commission resumes. General Major is nog steeds on yet. Mr. Tip.
General still under oath.
Thank you, Chair. I do not have many questions for you, General, and those that I do have are aimed purely at clarifying a few aspects of the interaction between NIM and SAPS in the course of the days that we've been dealing with. I would like to begin, if I may, by requesting you just to get Exhibit BBB7 in front of you.
I do have the exhibit, Chairperson.
General, you'll recall that this was raised with you by various parties, firstly by Mr. Bezos, and there was at least a suggestion in what he put to you that NIM had referred to the Special Task Force as a unit of the SAPS, and it went on, as I understood the suggestion, that SAPS had in fact been at least influenced by NIM's position in its decision to deploy the STF. You recall that debate?
Usakhumbula ke xesha ubuzwa ke nalapho kuthiwa ke ngoku iNUM yaba yiyo le yenza isicelo sokuba makuthunyelwe pha iSTF.
I do, Chairperson.
Isayikhumbula sihlalo.
And you'll recall also that the chair assisted the parties by pointing out that the document spoke variously about a special task force and the special task force, and also referred to the SANDF, and he made the point correctly with respect that it was at least ambiguous, and he observed that perhaps this was something that NIM could and should clarify, and I intend to do that now.
Uyakhumbula ke wathi wanceda ke kulonto leyo usihlalo apho ke ngokwakuthiwa eligama le-STF liyintsingiselo mbini kakuba napha emkhosini khona i-STF ngoke lonto iza kuthasisa uyicacisela into endifuna uba icace kakuhle ke kule commission leyo.
To that end, I've taken full instructions from NIM, and I might also just mention that in the course of his evidence, Mr. Zukwana also spoke about the circumstances of this document. You may be aware of that.
Unowenza kuba nawe unolwazi ngokuba ke xa ndithetha ngolu xwebhu naye uthe wanqina ngalo umhlekazi uZokwana.
The first point that needs to be placed on record is that this media statement was issued by NIM on 13 August, on the Monday, 13 August 2012, at 19:25. And it was issued by sending it via email to media establishments. It was not sent to SAPS, and it was not sent to the SANDF.
Uyatsho ke ukuba lenziwa nelo xwebhu ngomhla we-13 ka-August, uyatsho nexesha ke ngokuba yayimizuzu ka-25 emva kwentsimbi yesixhenxe, kwaye yathunyelwa nge-email, ithunyelwa kumajelo osasazo ohlukeneyo, zange ithunyelwe ke pha emkhosini woMzantsi Afrika okanye emapoliseni.
You've mentioned, I think, General, that you came across this media statement only in the course of the proceedings in this commission. Is that correct?
The uqale udibane ke nolu xwebhu apha ke kule commission njengoba bekuqhutyekekwa nje kunjalo?
That is correct, Chairperson.
Kunjalo sihlalo.
And it follows, I think, that you certainly did not see it in the course of that Monday evening.
Ngalo mvulo lowo ke zange udibane nento elolu hlobo ke ngokuhla kunjalo?
No, I did not, Chairperson.
Zange ndiyibone into elolu hlobo.
Would it be correct also that you were in fact entirely unaware of it during that Monday evening and the days that followed?
Inyani na into kuba ngalamvulo wawungenalwazi ngento okanye uxwebhu lolu hlobo kwakunye nezinye iintsuku ezazilandela?
Voorsitter, ek die eerste keer bewus geraak van hierdie pertinente verklaring toe dit aan my voorgelê is as 'n bewysstuk tydens kruisondervraging.
Chairperson, I became aware of this document for the first time when it was put before me under cross-examination as an exhibit.
Ke ndiqala ukwazi ngolu xwebhu ngeli xesha ndandibuzwa umbuzo ke ngoku apho kwakuthiwa thatha olu xwebhu kule commission njengobungqina.
Thank you, General. You've also described that in the course of that Monday evening, you instructed Brigadier Fritz to place certain members of the STF on standby.
Uthe wayalela ke ngoku Brigadier Fritz into yokuba abize ke ngoku enze amanye amalungu STF ahlale elindile.
Voorsitter, op die maandag aand het ek Brigadier Fritz versoek om spesiale taakmaglede te mobiliseer om deur te kom na Marikana.
On Monday evening, Chairperson, I asked Brigadier Fritz to see to that members of the STF comes to Marikana.
Ke ngoku ndacela ke phambi komvulo uBrigadier Fritz aqinisekisa abone into yokuba amalungu STF ayaza apho eMarikana.
And you'll forgive me if I underline what is already clear, but it is apparent, General, that that instruction by you had absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with the media statement that NUM had issued to the media houses earlier that evening.
Ucacile ke into yokuba ke ngoku isicelo esi wawusenza apho sasingenanto kwenza ne-email yathunyelwa ke ngoku yiNUM kumajelo osasazo.
Voorsitter, dit het verseker die mobilisering van spesiale taak mag het niks te doen met enige media verslag nie.
The deployment of the STF chairperson had totally nothing to do with anything to do with the media.
Ukuthunyelwa
It says with the media statement.
Like with the media
Nothing to do
report.
with the media statement issued by NUM.
With the media statement by NUM.
Ke ukuthunyelwa kwe-STF phaya kwakungenanto kwenza nentetho yathunyelwa koonondaba ke eyayivela ke kwiNUM.
General, then, as a general proposition, which flows from what I've just discussed with you, you'll recall that a week ago when Mr. Berger put some questions to you concerning the place of Mr. Boertes of the Lonmin security establishment, you said very clearly that operational and strategic decisions were the exclusive responsibility of the SAPS. Do you remember that?
Ngeli xesha wayebuza ke uMr Becker ngomhlekazi uBhotha lo kwicandelo nogada pha Lonmin uthe ke ngoku into zephulo neminyathelo amapolisa nendlela ubuchule babezayisebenzisa yinto ke ngoku eyayingaphansi kolawulo lamapolisa leyo uyakhumbula ngeli xesha uthetha into enjalo?
I do, Chairperson.
Isayikhumbula sihlalo.
And as a general proposition, can we take it that although that was said in respect of Mr. Boertes of Lonmin, it would at least be equally true of any of the office bearers of NUM?
Lento bithetheka ke ngomhlekazi uBhotha singathi injalo ke naxa sithetha ke ngamalungu angaphetheyo eNUM.
That is so, Chairperson.
Kunjalo sihlalo.
And just to go back to the instructions that I have from NUM, they are to the effect that NUM and the office bearers who are involved in the issuing of this media statement are not familiar with the structures of SAPS, and they are not familiar with the nature of the particular units that it has available for deployment. And in particular, they are not aware of the strategic task force as a particular component of the SAPS establishment.
Into abayithethayo ke bona ke ngoku aba benum into yokuba ke bona abanalazi ke ngalo macandelo nawo ke into ezenziwa ke ngoku okanye STF leyo engaphansi kwamapolisa.
Chairperson, it seems so if reference is made to the strategic task force, seeing that it's the special task force.
Uthi ke ngoku injalo xa uyijongile ngokuba ngoku bathetha ke nge-task force le isebenza buchule obuthile kodwa yena uyatsho eyabo ilithi i-task force le ekhithekileyo.
Now, General, you had some interaction with Mr. Zokwana, I think particularly and possibly only on the 15th of August, the late afternoon and evening. Is that correct?
Phangala lomhla usando khanganywa ke ngoku nge-15 August waba nendibano ngokuhlwa kunye nomhlekazi uZokwana. Inyani leyo?
That is correct, Chairperson.
Kunjalo sihlalo.
And other than that, you had nothing to do with NUM office bearers or NUM members in relation to the planning and decision-making of SAPS over that period. Is that correct?
Kodwa ngaphandle kwelo xesha kho apho waba nendabano khona ke namalungu okanye abo ke ngoba nezikhundla benum nidibanela into ezifana nokucwangciso okanye izinto akufuneka zenzeke apho zange yenzeke into enjalo kunjalo?
That is correct, Chairperson.
Kunjalo sihlalo.
Now, I just want to deal next with some aspects of the events of 15 August. And your interaction with Mr. Zokwana was firstly, before he went to the Kopi, he expressed his apprehensions about his personal security, and you personally assured him that you would see to it that arrangements were in place to keep him safe. You remember that?
Uyakhumbula ngexesha wayexhalabile ngokhuseleko lwakhe umhlekazi uzokwana phamba entabeni kodwa wena naqinisekisa into yokuba uzawukhuseleka. Usayikhumbula leyo?
I remember that, Chairperson.
Isayikhumbula leyo sihlalo.
And in the course of that, did you get the sense that of what really was of concern to Mr. Zokwana at that time, particularly in this regard, and I'm reflecting here the evidence that he gave in these proceedings, General, that he personally and NUM generally became very concerned about the security situation at Marikana on the 12th of August after the incident in which two of the Lonmin security people were killed.
Unolwazi ke into yokuba uko apho wena bayibonisa ukukhathazeka kanye inxalabo yakhe kanye nom apho ke ngokuba bekhathazekile ngokhuseleko nalapho ke ngoku kwakubakho onogada ababini baselonmini abathi babulawa khona.
And yes, General, I know that you were not there at that time, but you have heard that Mr. Zokwana then took steps to try to secure additional deployments via the Provincial Commissioner's Office, and later in the same afternoon of the 12th of August, he took the step of contacting the National Minister towards the same purpose.
Ndiyazi ke noba wawungekho ngelo xesha kodwa ke umhlekazi Zokwana wathatha ke ngokamanyathelo waba nodliwanondlebe ke nokomishinala wephondo kwaye ke elinye inyathelo walithathayo kukuba abe nodliwanondlebe kakhona aqhagamshelane nomphathiswa wamapolisa.
Then, of course, we know what the events were on the 13th of August, which had taken place before NIM issued the media statement that it did, BBB 7.
Siyayazi into yoba kwenzeka ntoni ke ngalamhla kwaye loo nto yenzeka phambi uba izothumela ke le email yayo kumajelo sasazo inum.
And against that background, I'm just going to put in a very brief paraphrased manner the essence of what Mr. Zokwana said about what his concerns were as at the 13th of August, and if on the basis of the discussion and interaction that you had with him on the 15th, you can confirm that that was your understanding of his view, you can tell us. If you're not in a position, then you'll tell us accordingly.
Ke ngoku ndizawutsho ngokufutshane ke nditsho into ezazimkhathaza phaa nge-13 nawe ekudibeni kwakhe nge-15 uzawutsho into yoba na uba uyakhumbula okanye uyatsho ngumbono okanye indlela wayibona ngayo yena na umhlekazi Zokwana leyo.
And what, in essence, Mr. Zokwana said was that NUM was seeking an effective law and order process, the restoration of law and order in the Marikana area, because, and only because, of the level of violence and the killing of people which had arisen from the 12th of August and onwards.
Uthi ke into ababeyifuna bona njengenomkukubuyiselwa ke kocwangco kusetyenziswe ke ngoku umthetho ke uthi ke ngenxa yezinto ke ngoku ezazenzekile apho uqala kakhulu ingakumbi ngalamhla we-12 ka-August.
He was not after increased law and order resources merely because people had gone on strike or merely because they had gathered on the Kopi, but solely because of the extent of the violence and the killings.
Uthi ke into yokuba cele kungezwe okanye ukuthunyelwa abanye amalungu apho ayingenxa yokuba abantu babedibanele okanye bebuthene phaa entabeni okanye babeqhankqalaza kodwa ke kwakungenxa yezidubedube ezazilapho nenxa yokubulawa kwabantu.
In his interaction with you, were you able to gather that understanding from him?
Wayithi wayiva into enjalo kuye ngeli xesha wena wawunendibano naye?
Voorsitter, ja, pertinent die aand van die 15de, nadat die twee presidente teruggekeer het van die Koppie af en ons onafhanklike vergaderings met hulle gehad het.
Chairperson, yes, pertinently, after the return of the two presidents from the Koppie when we had separate meetings with them.
Ewe, emvani babebuyile ke ngoku, phaa entabeni ngalamhla wo-15, zona izipresidents ezimbini, emveni ba ke ngoku sibe neentlanganiso ezimbini kunye nabo.
Meneer Zokwana aangedui dat hy die politieteenwoordigheid, die verhoogde politieteenwoordigheid verwelkom.
Mr. Zokwana said he welcomes the presence of the high police visibility.
Uthi nalento yokuba amapolisa ke ngokabe phaa bonakale wayamkela naye umhlekazi Zokwana.
Verwys na die intimidasie wat plaasvind en dan sal ek nie weer die fout maak nie, he condemned violence, not condoned, condemned violence.
Yes.
As the General has said, not condoned, but he condemned violence.
Wathi ke na lento ke ngoku iyo dushe apho into awangahambisani nayo igxeka kodwa wayengahambisani nayo ngamanye amazwi loo nto leyo.
Voorzitter, dan het hy ook van noem se kant af vir die polisie versekering gegee dat hulle totaal sal saamwerk in terme van enige informasie of inligting wat hulle het rondom gevalle van kriminaliteit.
And then he also made a promise to the SAPS that they would be of help in the gathering of information of any acts of criminality.
Wathi ke bona bazaba luncedo nabo ekuzameni kuba bazofumana ulwazi ke ngezenzo ke zolwaphulo mthetho.
General, I want next to turn briefly to the nature of the proceedings and the events at the Koppie on the occasion of Mr. Zokwana's visit there on the 15th of August.
Ndifuna ke ngusiye ke ngento ezasenze kwanye senzekayo ngeli xesha ke ngupha nge-15 August wayesiya phaa wayengalo phaa entabeni umhlekazi Zokwana.
And you'll recall that you have mentioned in your evidence that whilst he and later Mr. Matunjwa went there, that you were receiving radio transmissions from the commanders of the Unyalas in which they had travelled. Is that correct?
Uthi ke ngoku ndixesha phaa babefumana ke ngoku i-transmission ezizonomathotholo kwezi komanda ke kwiihipo ezi babekhwele kuzo apho kunjalo.
Voorzitter, net tegnische correctheid, hulle het met minibusse tot by die forward holding area 1 vertrek.
Just a technical chairperson, they went with a mini bus up to the forward holding area.
Bahamba indawo ngekhumbi besiya kule ndawo ebizwa ke nge-forward holding area.
En van daar af dan met een pertinente Njala en dan die radiotransmissie en verslaaf was uit Papa 1 uit 1 Njala.
And from there in an armored vehicle, a Nyala, and the transmission was transmitted by Papa 1.
Yes,
the radio transmission.
The
radio transmission was sent by Papa 1.
Ke uthi bathi bakhwele emva koko ke ngoku ezinqwelo zixhotyisiweyo ke owayeqinisekise ethumele ke imiyalezo apho yayingupapa.
Thank you, General. That is indeed, as I understand it. What I want to then just describe to you, and I'm referring also here to the evidence and descriptions that Mr. Zokwana has already presented to the Commission, is one particular feature of what encountered Mr. Zokwana as he approached and arrived at the Koppie on that occasion.
into endizawuya phofu ke yinto ethi iyenzeka kufikeni ke kukaMhlekazi uzokwana phaa entabeni ngelaa xesha.
And that is a feature that particularly struck and shocked him, namely the singing of what we call generally the Kill the Num song.
Uthi ke into eyathi yamethusa ingakumbi ke le ngoma ethi le num sizoyibulala.
General, I imagine that in the course of the consultations that you've had, you will have seen a video clip where people on the Kopi on the 16th, at the time just before Mr. Matunjwa spoke, sing a song where the lyrics are essentially, how do we kill this num, we hate this num, with people clashing their weapons together at the same time. Have you seen that video?
Kukho ke ngoku ividiyo edlaliweyo apha ke ngoku ekufikeni kaMhlekazi uMathunjwa phaa entabeni apho abantu besithi le num sizayibulala kanjani, le num sizayisonda, kwaye babephethe izixhobo zabo bebethi izixhobo zabo besenza isingqi ngelo xesha. Wakhe wayibona ividiyo njalo?
Voorzitter, as ek reg kan onthou het ek 'n transkripsie gelees van die video. Ek dink daar was nog regstellings gemaak. Daar was die eerste weergawe en toe regstellings op die transkripsie. Die video self probeer ek nou dink ek moontlik het ook hom gesien, ek is nie seker nie.
Possibly, I'm trying to think, possibly not seen it, but I remember reading a transcript of that video and there were some corrections made to it.
Ngenzeka mhlawumbi ndibonile okanye ndibonanga, kodwa ndiyakhumbula ndiyifunda into elolu hlobo kwaye kwabakho izilungiso ezenziwayo kuloo nto yayibhalwe apho.
General, this video clip has been played a few times for the Commission. I don't propose to do it again, although you may not have seen it. But just for cross-reference, Chair, it's Exhibit CC7. General, it is a very striking video, and it has been placed on record that it is, there's some dispute about it, but at least the one description is that it is a very menacing song, a very menacing presentation, and particularly it was put by me to Mr. Matunjwa that if it referred to a person, it would be extremely threatening to that person.
Into endifuna ukuyitsho ke njengoba kwabakho impikiswano ekho ngale ngoma ke into endayitsho kuMhlekazi uMathunjwa uba ukuba uculwa ngomntu ke kuloo ngoma leyo into ethetha into yoba ke ngoku loo ngoma yingoma eyayirhurhisa loo mntu lowo.
And what in particular confronted Mr. Zokwana on the 15th was that as he approached, this song was being sung, the weapons were being clashed together, but there were two lines. There was, how do we kill the Num, we hate Num, and how do we kill Zokwana, we hate Zokwana.
Uthi nthemba babecula ke apho loo ngoma leyo isenza isingqi ngezixhobo zabo babethetha into ezimbini into yoba le lum sayibula kanjani, le lum sayizonda, uzokwana sambulala kanjani, uzokwana siyamzonda.
And I'm going to relate what he then says about it, again, just by way of paraphrasing, and then I'll ask you, General, whether this kind of feedback was being received by you from Brigadier Karlitz from that in Nyala at the time that they were still at the Kopi. And Mr. Zokwana said in essence this, that as he approached, he heard this song being sung, and it shocked him. When he tried to address the people on the Kopi and got so far as to tell them that they should disarm, that they should take their grievances up through proper processes, the volume of the singing of that song went up, and it became impossible for him, in fact, to address them.
Andiyazi into yoba loo nto wayixelelwa ngubrigadier Karlitz ke apho kodwa into eyenzekayo wathi sondela ke ngoku yena sekufupha apho wamangala ke xa kuculwa ke loo ngoma leyo. Uthe ke ngoku bayicele abantu ke ngoku into yoba babeke phantsi izixhobo zabo kwaye kulandelwe imigwaqo emimisiweyo esetyenziswayo xa kungenwa kwingxoxo. Kuthiwe ke ngoku abantu baye bangxola ke xa becula le ngoma ngakumbi. Loo nto yenza kube nzima noba makavakale njengoba wayethetha.
Would that be consistent with what you were hearing from Papa One at the time?
Yiyo na into mhlawumbi into elolu hlobo wayiva okanye uxelwa nguPapa One ngelaa xesha?
Voorsitter, behalwe dat hulle nie verwys het na 'n lied wat gesing is of enige woorde uit die lied uit nie. Dit was soos ek het onthou dat meneer Zokwana uitgejou is, dat hy nie verwelkom is daar nie en dat hy nie die geleentheid gehad het om sy boodskap na behore oor te dra nie.
Chairperson, yes, not the exact words in the song, but what I know is that Mr. Zokwana was hallowed and wasn't given a chance to talk to his people and that he wasn't welcome.
Noba ke ingasingawo lamazwi asetyenzisayo kodwa ke iyenzeka kwa into enjalo apho wathi xa izama ukuthetha kwaye kwangxolwa yena umhlekazi Zokwana.
General, I'm not going to detain you with the details, but I just want to ask you this. Were you personally satisfied at the time and in the course of the briefing after the visit to the Kopi that Mr. Zokwana had indeed made a sincere and real effort to address the people on the Kopi and to try to secure a peaceful resolution of the situation there?
Into leyo wayazi nawe ngexesha ke ngoku bebuyile lapho kuthiwa ingxelo into yokuba yena ngendlela ke ngoku ethobekileyo wazama ke ngokubongoza abantu ukwenzela ekugqibeleni kuzofikwa kwisisombululo esawusiqolo kwinto esiseka yena umhlekazi Zokwana. Wayifumana into enjalo na?
Voorsitter, ja, ek kan onthou dat die aand van die terugvoer was meneer Zokwana nog merkbaar ontsteld geweest en hy het vir generaal Mpembe gesê, "You have seen what happened at the Kopi."
Chairperson, yes, one I could see when he came back, Mr. Zokwana was disturbed, and he also mentioned to General Mpembe, to him, said, "You see what happened."
Uthi ke wayibonakala ephazamiseke kakhulu umhlekazi Zokwana njengoba wayibuya phaya endabeni njengoba watsho nakuGeneral Mpembe noba uyibonile into eyenzekileyo phaya.
General, you're correct, he wasn't indeed very distressed, but the particular question that I put to you was whether you were satisfied at the time that he, Mr. Zokwana, had indeed made a genuine effort to get through to that crowd and to try to contribute to a resolution of the situation peacefully.
Into owayibona ngolo hlobo nawe ke kuyeni kamhlekazi uZokwana ukuba nyani wayazenza inzame wayenza imigudu pha intabeni ukuqinisekisa ukuba igqibeleni kufikelela kwisisombululo esizawuba noxolo.
Dit is reg, voorsitter.
That is correct, Chairperson.
Kunjalo sihlalo.
Then the last question that I have for you, General, is simply this, that in keeping perhaps with what you've already confirmed again today and the professional and independent nature of the police planning at the time, that when one examines the planning and everything that had gone around it, is it correct that the SAPS did not during that time see NUM as an organization as posing a threat to law and order in the Marikana area?
Kwenzeni kwenu ke nje bananisenza nisenzela ukona isicwangciso ke kodwa ke nyani into ba iNUM zange niyibone njengesihogiso ke ngoku kumthetho kunye nozinzo nocwangco na?
Voorsitter, ek het verwys na die die woord nou in Engels clashes tussen NUM en AMCO op die 12de.
I referred, Mr. Chairperson, to the clashes between AMCO and NUM on the 12th.
Ndithethile ke ngongquzulwano lwabaphakathi kweNUM ne-AMCO ngalamhla we-12.
Gegee die terugvoer wat ons gekry het van Lonmin, ook in terme van bewystuk TT5 in terme van die misdaad intelligensie of die informasie wat ons gekry het, was daar deurgangs verwys na AMCO, telkens na AMCO as die persone wat verantwoordelik is vir die ontwrigting en die kriminaliteit.
Given the information that we had received, Mr. Chairperson, with reference to Exhibit TT5, reference was always made to an AMCO strike.
Naxa ke ngoku sawuthetha ke ngoku sijonga kwela xwebhu TT5 nange lwazi luntle lufumanekayo ke kwakuthiwa ke ola qhankqalazo ke lwe-AMCO.
Voorsitter, ons het nie gefokus op 'n AMCO of 'n NUM nie, ons het gefokus op die handelinge van 'n groep.
But Chairperson, we did not focus on AMCO or NUM. We were focusing on the activities of a group.
uthi ke zange sasingagxinini sikanye sijongisise pha kwiNUM kanye amkho apho kodwa ke sasijongisise kakhulu kwizenzo ke zeqela eli labantu abelapho bonke.
Groep wat aanduidings was dat dit hoofsaaklik AMCO-lede is of noemlede, maar wat in 'n oorgangsfase was. Ek dink daar was 'n maand, as iewers genoem dat daar 'n maand tydperk is wat jy met kennis gee voordat jy kan sogenaamde cross-flooring doen. Dat hulle alhoewel nog steeds noemkaarthouers was, dat hulle geassosieer het met die AMCO-unie.
Although they are associated with the AMCO union, some of them were still members of NUM because there is told a month notice before any floor crossing can be done from the one to the other union.
Ke uthi ke nangona abanye bebe hambisana ke ngendlela ethetha ngayo AMCO kodwa ke yayisengamalungu nomkela xesha ngoba kaloku unexesha elingangenyanga phambi ba uzokwenza isaziso sokuba ke ngoku uyasuka kumbutho lo uya komnye umbutho.
General, thank you. Again, it's not, I think, necessary for me to take time to develop, to debate with you particular incidents on particular days. That evidence answer of yours is clear enough, and we appreciate it. And Mr. Chair, that concludes our questions for the General.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to make sure there's no one representing any of the other parties who wishes to ask any more questions of the General. No. Mr. Semenya, re-examination.
Thank you, Chair. General, your answers have been fairly comprehensive to most questions that were put to you. I would like us just to deal with, broadly though, with various areas of criticisms that one could discern from various cross-examination questions. Can we start to deal with the one relating to what is called lack of command?
Ke uthi enye into zininzi ke okanye ababebuza imibuzo baye bagxeka ngendlela ezahlukeneyo ezininzi kodwa ke ndifuna siqale ngayo ke usingene kuzo ngendlela ephangaleleyo ndizawuqala ngale kuthiwa kwakungekho lawulo khona.
When scene 1 happened, the overall commander, General Mpembe, was at the jog. Is that right?
Ngexesha kwenzeka ke ngisehlo sokuqala esi inkomanda leyo engameleyo apho uGeneral Mpembe waye kujog kunjalo?
That is correct, Chairperson.
Kunjalo sihlalo?
At that time, was it foreseen that scene 1 was to happen?
Ngela xesha lento yenzeka pha kwindawo yeqhayelo lokuqala into yayilindelekile bayiza kwenzeka na?
No, Chairperson.
Hayi sihlalo.
Was there information to alert the overall commander that he needed to intervene?
Kwabakho into etshoyo into ba ke ngoku yena ukomanda leyo ngemeleyo funeke iyongenele lapho?
No, Chairperson.
Hayi sihlalo.
Was the communication to indicate to him, General Mpembe, that he needs to get in contact with the operational commander?
Kwaba khona uqhagamshelana naye uba yena uGeneral Mpembe kufuneke adibane ke ngoku kunye nenkomanda le yayilapho kwindawo yeqhayela?
No, Chairperson.
Hayi sihlalo.
When scene 1 happened, Brigadier Khalets was the operational commander, am I right?
Inkomanda ke ngoku iyayilawula ke iphulo elamapolisa ngelixesha sesihlo sokuqala nguBrigadier Khalets kunjalo?
Brigadier Khalets was right throughout the operational commander, but yes, during the time of scene 1 as well.
Ewe lonke ixesha yayinguye ke inkomanda eyayilawula kuphulo elo nangelixesha ke lesiganeko sokuqala.
As his evidence will show later, he was inside the Nyala when scene 1 happened.
Njemba ke kuzawuvakala nakubungqina bakhe into yokuba ngelixesha kusenzeka isiganeko sokuqala yena wayengaphakathi kwihipo.
That's my understanding, Chairperson.
Nami into endiyaziyo leyo sihlalo.
And the hippo was on the northern side, not where scene 1 happened.
Kwaye le hippo ke yayipha emantla ngaphezulu hayi kule ndawo kwakwenzeke kuyo isiganeko esokuqala.
Chairperson, that's my understanding. The Nyala, Papa one that it was in, was more to the northwestern side of where scene 1 actually occurred.
Nami into endiyazi into ba ke ngoku le hippo yayikwicala la se mntla-ntshona xa sijonge ngoku apho isiganeko sokuqala senzeke khona.
Was that by design, that he should be there when scene 1 happened?
Into eyagqitywayo leyo into yokuba xa kwenzeka isiganeko sokuqala funeke yena abe kuloo ndawo leyo na.
Voorzitter, nee, dit was nooit deel van die plan dat daar toneel 1 sou wees nie. Ons was nie bewus dat dit sou plaasvind nie, so dit was nie sodanig kon dit beplan gewees het nie.
No, it wasn't, Chairperson. We did not know that there was going to be such happening in scene 1. It wasn't planned, and that could not have been the idea.
Hayi ngoba sasingazi into yoba le nto yenzeke kwisiganeko sokuqala yayiza kwenzeka kwaye zange icetywe nokucetywa loo nto leyo.
Was there information to Papa 1 where Brigadier Khalid was that scene 1 has just happened, informing him as the operational commander?
Ngoke wachaza ke ngoku Papa 1 exelela ke ngoku operational commander ngento eyenzekayo.
Geen sodanige informasie of inligting was oor die radiokanale gemeld nie, voorsitter. So.
No mention was made through the radio channels of such information, Mr. Chairperson.
Zange ithetheke into enjalo ke phaa koonomathotholo.
Are you aware of any indicator that ought to have brought that knowledge to him when it happened, that is scene 1?
Khona into yaziyo kanye indlela ithile kwakufuneka aziswe ngayo le nto ke lixesha yayisenzeka phaa kwesiganeko sokuqala.
Voorzitter, die enigste manier hoe hy sou bewus wees is of as hy dit self waargeneem het of as een van die bevelvoerders of lede dit op die radio oorgedra het.
The only way in which he would have known is if he had observed it himself, Mr. Chairperson, or one of the commanders could have transmitted this information to him.
Eyona ndlela ayinokwazi ngayo ukuba yena wayelapho wazibonela ngokwakhe okanye mhlawumbi axelelwe ngenye yeenkomanda.
Maar ek was nie bewus en ook in die JOC was ons nie bewus van enige sodanige informasie nie.
I am not, and we in the JOC were not aware of any such information.
Ina besingenalwazi phaa kwi-JOC ngento elolo hlobo.
I'll come to the JOC. I'm just trying to explore the reality that we have. Is there any reason to disbelieve Brigadier Khalid that he did not witness scene 1 happening?
Ke ngoku sikhona isizathu esinazo sokuthi asinamkholelwa uBrigadier Khalid xa esithi zange ayibona into eyenzeka apha.
Chairperson, can I object to this line of questioning? I'm sure the often repeated remarks by the chairperson that this witness was not there and Khalid will answer for himself also applies to Mr. Semenya.
Except
in other words, I don't know what, if this witness says he believes or doesn't believe whether Khalid observed or did not observe, then how is that going to add to anything?
Chair, except at 2 levels. Mr. Mpofu spent countless days dealing with the actual events at scene 1 and scene 2 with this witness. Secondly, I'm not asking this witness to give us an account of what happened. I'm asking, knowing Brigadier Khalid, knowing the evidence as he does, has he got any reason why, if he says he did not see it, there is something to disbelieve that, according to him?
Counsel is not normally entitled to ask one witness whether he believes the evidence of another witness. Questions of credibility are normally reserved for the courts, but of course this is a commission, so wider considerations may apply.
With the information,
can
I rephrase it?
For various witnesses being asked, do you believe other witnesses? It may be that you can put this on a basis that this witness is in a special position to be able to give an informed answer to the question, in which case I'll allow it.
I'll rephrase the question. Having assessed all the information to date, is there anything that you are aware of that would make the evidence of Brigadier Khaled, if he comes, unbelievable about whether he did or did not observe the scene one happening?
Emvani bake mhlawumbe sithi uphonononke yonke into kwenzekeni kwayo nolwazi ke ngoku nanxa yolwazi nalo uthi ke ngoku lena into unasizathu sokuba kungakholelwa into ayithethayo uBrigadier Khaled xa esithi yena zange abone bakwenzeke ntoni apho?
No, Chairperson.
Hayi sihlalo.
Okay. When scene one happens, I want us to recreate as best we can what is available to the people in the jog where you were. What visual material of the operation were you getting from time to time?
Njebana nipha ke ngokejok ngeyiphindwe nanithunyelwa ke ngento eyayikwazi uba ibe ngumuntu ineze ikwazi uyijonga ngamehlo enanithunyelwa ngezinto ezasenzeka apho.
Voorsitter, daar was foto's deurgestuur, maar ek weet nie watter foto's en tot op watter stadium deur die Blackberry van kolonel Vermaak. Ek self het nie foto's gesien ten tye van die afspeel van scene 1 soos ons nou weer die tyd nie.
There were photos that were being sent through the Blackberry cell phone. I personally did not see any of those.
By Colonel Vermaak, I think.
Yes, which were sent by Colonel Vermaak, yes, on his Blackberry cell phone. But I personally did not see the photos.
At that time, yeah.
At that time
of scene 1.
At that time of scene 1.
Uthi ke zikhona ifoto ke zathunyelwa ngeBlackberry yaka Colonel Vermaak, kodwa ke mna zange ndizibone ngelo xesha ke ilifoto kwakusenzeka isiganeko sokuqala.
Voorsitter, dan was daar CCTV beeldmateriaal van een pertinente camera van Lonmin.
Then there was also CCTV CCTV of the Lonmin company.
Kwakhona umbona kude ke wonogada ke waphaya kwindawo le yaseLonmin.
Voorsitter, 'n kamera wat wes gekyk het en wat ek dink omtrent 1.6 kilometer weg was van die toneel, nou bekend as toneel 1.
The camera was about 1.6 kilometers facing westwards from the scene, from scene 1, from the happening at scene 1.
Uthi ke ngokwakho enye ikamera ikhona ithethe ke kunomgama engange kwazi ubona imgama ungange kilometer ezi 1.6 uthi ke yayijengise apha ke ungasentshona xa ethetha ngesiganeko ke ngokesibhekisa kuganeko sokuqala.
Any of those visuals which could have conveyed to Jock that scene 1 is happening?
Izinto uthetha ngazo zikhona mhlawumbi esingathi sijongwe pha kuJock zanenza nazi into kubana ilento yenzeka pha kwisiganeko esokuqala yenzeka iyaqhubekeka.
Voorsitter, nee, ek het self probeer kyk op die CCTV skerm.
No, Chairperson, I personally tried to look on the screen of the CCTV camera.
Mna hayi sihlalo mna ndazama ukuba ndijonge ndibukele ke ngopha kumabonakude lo wonogada.
Voorsitter, hoe meer hulle ingezoom het, hoe minder kon hy sien in terme van die beweging van die kamera.
The more they zoomed in as a result of the movement of the camera, it was not possible to see anything.
Difficult.
It was difficult to see anything.
Uthi ke ngenxa yokuba yayijika ke le camera lena kwaye ndokuzama ke ngoku ukukhulisa umfanekiso lowo kwayenza into yokuba kube nzima into yokuba babone.
En dan ook die posisie van die son en stof. Mens kon sien hoe voertuie beweeg.
And also the position of the sun and the dust which was there.
Because of the movement of vehicles.
And the movement of vehicles in the vicinity.
Ke inyisathu ke luthuli apho kwakunye nokuphithisela kwenqwelo nelanga ezinye into ezaphazamisayo.
Maar geen aanduiding van die afspeel van 'n toneel 1 nie.
But no indication of what was happening at scene 1.
kodwa khonto yayibonisa into yayisenzeka phaa kwindawo yeqhwayela yokuqala.
Audio material that came through to the jog, did it convey a sense immediately that scene 1 is happening?
Kwizinto ke ngoku esithi imifanekiso yathunyelwa phaa kwijog ikhona into enenza nabanolwazi into yokuba isiganeko esoqala siyenzeka na?
No, Chairperson.
Hayi sihlalo.
Was there material at any stage to jog that could have informed a decision to halt before the occurrence of scene 2?
Ikhona into eyathi yathunyelwa phaa kwijog eyayinokwenza into yokuba kumiswe yonke into eyayisenzeka kwenzele kungenzeki le nto yenzeka phaa kwisehlakalo isehlo sesibini?
No, Chairperson.
Isihlalo.
For the convenient treatment of the evidence, we have been referring to the events at Marikana scene 1 and scene 2. From the jog perspective, was that distinction clear to you at the time?
Ke ngokuthi napha into xa sahlukanisa izehlo esoqala sibiza isiganeko soqala nesinye sesibini, kodwa nina naniqonda kanye niyazi ngolo hlobo ngela xesha phaa kwijog nizohlukanisa njalo nani?
No, Chairperson.
Hayi sihlalo.
Okay. Can I ask us to go look now at Exhibit Triple F25?
Ndicela ke usijonge ke kuxwebhu olu silibiza Triple F25,
particularly entry 975.
Ingakumbi kule ndawo ayibiza kubhalwe kuyo 975.
Page 22 of the exhibit. Page 22 of the exhibit.
Indeed, Chair. You would remember during cross-examination.
Chairperson, I must apologize for the delayed response. But I'm not dealing with this question that Mr. Semenya is asking, but the previous one. I just think that to leave that question open-ended about the distinction between scene 1 and scene 2 is at best misleading, unless it is made clear at what stage we're talking about. Because the witness clearly testified about that distinction. When I asked him the question in relation to why, or rather where he got his information about both scenes, you remember, Chairperson, that he said he got his information about scene 2 from Naidu and about scene 1 and 2 from Brigadier Khalid. So it means he was aware of that distinction. So unless if we know at what stage Mr. Semenya's question is, because if it covers the entire period, then it's misleading.
Mr. Semenya, you've heard what Mr. Mpofu said. It might be helpful for us if you just got a bit more clarity in respect of the distinction when he learnt that there were two scenes and so forth. The answer does hang a bit in the air, and it will help us all, I think, to understand his evidence better if this point is taken a bit further.
Chair, I even said at that time of the happening. So, were you aware at JOC at 15, just immediately before 4 o'clock, that there is now scene 1 happening?
Ndibuza into ba phambi kwentsimbi yesine nani no lwazi ngela xesha phaa ejok into ba kwenzeka into eyayisenzeka apho?
No, Chairperson.
Hayi sihlalo.
Were you aware at JOC at 1609 that now scene 2 is happening?
Njengoba naniphaa kwijok ke ngemizuzu elithoba emva kwentsimbi yesine nanisazi phaa kwisiganeko sesibini kwenzeka ntoni?
No, Chairperson.
Hayi sihlalo.
At 1610, did you know there were scene 1 and scene 2?
Ngemizuzu elishumi emva kwentsimbi yesine nani senisazi into yoba kukho into ebizwa njengesehlo soqala nesesibini?
No, Chairperson.
Hayi sihlalo.
At 1610, did you know there is a scene at all?
imizuzu elishumi emva kwentsimbi yesine wawunolwazi ngento eyayibizwa isiganeko okanye isehlo?
Waar daar sterftes was, nee, voorsitter.
Not where there were any fatalities, Chairperson.
That we were going to call them scene 1, were you aware at the time?
Unolwazi ke ngale ndawo siyibiza isehlo sokuqala ngela xesha?
No, Chairperson.
Ayisihlalo.
That we were going to call it scene 2, did you know at the time?
Wawusazi ntoba ngeli xesha uba yayizawubizwa enye le isiganeko sesibini?
No, Chairperson.
Ayisihlalo.
Can we now go where we were?
Asibuye lapho besi lapho ngokweni.
Exhibit triple F25.
Triple F25.
Against entry 975, can I read you that situation report at 9:30?
Ndifundela ke ngoku ingxelo leyenziwa ngemeko yalapho ngeqala emva kwentsimbi yethoba.
It reads, Chopper 1 reported a lot of people on street coming from western side of Marikana, moving to the copy. Do you see that?
Yabona apha kubhalwe ke ngoku kwakho ingxelo eyiphuma kwinqwelo ntaka yokuqala into abantu abaninzi babesunga kucala ke ngoku la ngasentshona behamba bejongise pha ngasentabeni eMarikana. Uyayibona loo nto?
I do, Chairperson.
Ewe ndiyayibona star.
If this is not leading, which side is the western side of Marikana?
Ke ngoku icala elithwali ngasentshona ke pha eMarikana leliphi eloqala?
Chairperson, in relation to the copy, that would be the so-called positive attraction point, the area to the back as the strikers were positioned.
Uthi ke ngoku xa sijonge pha kuyintaba ke ngoku uthi le ndawo babebiza into abantu bazotsaleka kuyo emva kwale ndawo abaqhankqalazi babejonge okanye bemi kuyo.
It would be the area then that the police line were facing. That would be the western side.
Kule ndawo okanye licala amapolisa enze umgca ayijonge kulo.
And Nkaneng would be which side of the cardinal?
Singathi yona ke iNkaneng yayikweli phi icala yona?
Chairperson, as the police were facing to the right right rear, so that would be to the eastern, but to the northeastern side.
Njengoba amapolisa eyijonge wona ingathi kancinci apha ngase kunene singathi licala ke ngoku eli ntshona mpuma kunye nomntla mpuma.
And you see entry 978 on that exhibit reports about 600 people arriving at the copy, heavily armed. A lot of people still was coming from eastern side, that would be from the Nkaneng side.
Uyabona kukho ingxelo evelapha into yoba abantu abangamakhulu amathandathu bebefika pha entabeni bexhobe kakhulu kwaye abaninzi babesuka kwicala ke ngoku la ngasempuma ke ngoku aba besuka ke ngoku ngasenkaneni abo kunjalo.
Chairperson, not only necessarily from the Nkaneng side, but also beyond Nkaneng to the east, because further on there's also settlements.
Uthi ke ngoku babengasuke kuphela pha ngasenkaneni kodwa nakwindawo okanye izilokishi ezingapha ngaphaya kwenkaneni ezazingakwicala lasempuma.
The proposition was put to you that the by far majority of the protesters were coming from Nkaneng. You remember that line of cross-examination?
Uyakhumbula ke xesha wawubuzwa kuthiwa ke abantu abaninzi uninzi lwabo besuka pha kwicala ngasenkaneni?
I do, Chairperson.
Ndisayikhumbula loo nto sihlalo.
As far as the information was coming through to the jog, the people were coming only from that direction?
Ikwingxelo nifumana ke pha kujog kwakuthiwa na abantu babesuka kwelo cala na?
No, Chairperson.
Hayi sihlalo.
Shall we talk about this concept, positive and negative attraction?
Masithethe ngophansi ngalento yokundawo abantu babezofuna utsaleka kuyo okanye indawo babezofuna iphepha bangayi kuyo.
If assets like the mining smelters were thought to be sensitive assets requiring protection. In terms of positive and negative, that becomes what type of attraction?
Ukuba ke ngoku masithi kukho ezi zinto zisetyenziswa apha zokunyibilisa iintsimbi zasemigodini sithi zi-edede kwade zifuneka zikhuselwe sasizawuthi ke ngoku indawo ke ngoku leyo indawo ke ngoku ibiza i-positive okanye i-negative abantu ekuzofuneka bayikuyo okanye bangayikuyo.
That specific key point would later be considered as a negative attraction.
Indawo ke ngoku leyo kwakuzofuneka into yoba abantu mabangayi kuyo leyo.
In terms of a dispersal action of people who are armed, would you disperse them in the direction of the settlement?
Xana ke ngoku ni kwinyathelo eli lokuchitha abantu abaxhobileyo nanizawubaqhubela ke ngoku kwicala eli laselokishini.
Chairperson, if the settlement is considered as a negative attraction point, then you will send them in the other direction, what we refer to as a positive attraction point.
Ukuba ke ngoku indawo kafuneka baye kuyo le lokishi niyawubaqhubela kwindawo engenye le funeke baye kuyo bona.
I think Mr. Hendricks says because they live there, that should be a positive attraction. Would that be a correct planning description?
Uthi ke ngoku na umhlekazi Hendricks kaloku ngenxa yoba abantu bahlala kuyo la ndawo leyo indawo kwakufuneka beqhutyelwe kuyo leyo abantu.
Voorsitter, om dit opweeg in terme van wat positief en wat negatief is. Dit wat positief is noodwendig vir groepering mense is nie noodwendig positief in terme van die uiteendryf aksie nie.
Chairperson, this has got to be taken in what is positive and what is negative. That which may be positive for the grouping may not be positive for the dispersal action.
Uthi ke ngoku funeke sijonge ngoku xa sichaza le nto kwindawo abantu abangazofuna kuyo okanye abazotsaleka kuyo ukuba apha kwiqala le ndawo izawubonakala babona bazofuna ukuya kuyo ayisoze ifane nale xa kukho inyathelo elithathwayo lokubana bachitha aba bafuna baye khona abo benza loo nto.
The other point of criticism referred to the Standing Order 262 debriefings.
Into egxekwayo ke ngoku zingxelo ke ngoku ezikhutshwayo kuya ke kwa Standing Order 262.
According to Ms. Jelle and the clients she represents, there would have had to be a debriefing of a SWOT analysis and all, for instance, on the 13th, whilst the situation, if you like, was still unfolding. Is that how you understand Standing Order 262?
Uthi ke na umuntu ayithethile advocate into yoba kaloku babefuneka into yoba bathi emva koko ngoko Standing Order bazohlalutya yonke into eyayisenzeka apho nangona imeko yayiqhubekeka yayilapho indlela wena uqonda ngayo okanye wazi ngayo Standing Order 262 leyo.
Voorsitter, soos ek 262 verstaan, is dit verwysend na 'n totale operasie, soos 'n operasie oor aantal dae plaasvind, dan sal dit na afloop van die operasie wees.
Chairperson, as far as I understand Standing Orders, it refers to the whole operation. If the whole operation takes a number of days, and then at the end of the operation, then this becomes applicable.
Uthi ke Standing Order ithetha ke ngephulo lonke kanye yonke lonto yenzeka apho kuba kuthemba noba kuthiwa elo phulo lithatha intsuku kulapho ke ngoku kuye kuhlalutywe xa sekuphele yonke lonto leyo.
Operasie of 'n gebeurtenis, as ek kan 'n voorbeeld gebruik soos die COP17 gebeurtenis of spesiale event.
References that I could, or examples that I could make was, for instance, the COP17 event.
Into bendingathetha ngayo ke into le yayibizwa i-COP17 lezomzekelo ngayo.
Wat oor 'n aantal dae plaasgevind het, dan sal daar nie as daar op eendag 'n groep protesteerders is oor klimaatsverandering byvoorbeeld, dan sal daar nie elke keer 'n nabetragting gehou word na aanleiding van kleiner gebeurtenisse binne in die groter gebeurtenis nie.
Like in the case of a protest, it wouldn't be on the occurrence of every small event that there should be a come together and a debriefing.
Ke xa kukho umzekelo uqhankqalazo ke ayinto ebifuneka yenzeka into yokuba emva kwenye nenye into egqiba ukwenzeka abakufuneka uhlale kubekho ke ngokwingxelo ekhutshwayo yenziwayo.
Maar wel in terme van wat ons na verwys as die eerste vlak van debriefing of nabetragting, we refer to it as a hard debrief between the members as well as then their direct commanders.
That has been explained.
Xa ethetha ke ngoku ngengxela isandoyitsho ingakumbi ke ngoku xa inkomanda izizawuthi zona zinika ingxelo kumalungu asebenza ngaphantsi kwazo.
Where Standing Order 262 requires trainers and instructors must attend the debriefings. So this have been possible on the 9th, the 10th, the 11th, the 12th, the 13th of August.
Njengoba kuthiwa ke ngamalungu funeke abe khona njengoba kutsho ke ngaba baqeqeshayo xa kukhutshwa ingxelo ukusuka lomhla we-9 yotsho nge-13 into eyinokwenzeka leyo na.
Voorsitter, gegewe die vloeibaarheid van die situasie en dat dit 'n aktiewe protesaksie was wat ons mee gedeel het en dan dit sou net prakties sou dit bitter moeilik gewees het om individuele opleiers te kry van al die pertinente eenhede om dan nou deur te kom vir so 'n nabetragting.
Given the fluidity of the situation at the time, it would have been practically impossible to get suitable trainers to come and train the people as things were still happening.
Xa sijonge ubuzaza bemeko ke into apho kweli xesha into engenawukwenzeka into yokubana aba baqeqeshayo bafanelekile ukuba baze ngelo xesha bazoqeqesha amalungu lawo.
You have told us about various levels of debriefing that happens.
Usixelele ngendlela ezahlukeneyo apho ingxelo ke ule ithi ikhutshwe ngayo.
Does Standing Order 262 contemplate a written report of debriefing that happens between members and their commander, the first level you mentioned?
Phaa Standing Order kuthiwa ke kufuneka kubekho ingxelo na ebhaliweyo apho amalungu anikwa xelwa ngayo ke njengoba kuthiwa kutsho njalo kwinto enjalo ethethwa yona phaa Standing Order.
Nee, voorsitter, nie 'n formele geskrewe verslag nie.
No, Chairperson, no formal written report.
Hayi, sihlalwa kubikho ngxelo ke ibhaliweyo kusesikweni.
There is also criticism that the debriefing that happened was inadequate.
Kunye indlela bagxeka into yobana kwindlela babeyenza ukukhupha ingxelo yayinganelanga.
Is there a given standard debriefing measure in policing?
Ikhona indlela ke ebekiweyo emisiweyo apho ke ngoku ingxelo funeka zikhutshwe ngayo apha ebupoliseni.
Voorsitter, ek is nie bewus van so sjablone template nie. Ek weet daar's eenhede wat dit sal vergemaklik wat hulle dan hulle eie vormpie het wat lede dan kan gebruik as rigtinggewend, maar daar's nie 'n standaard sodanige dokument wat sê dit is hoe dit moet gedoen word nie.
Chairperson, I am not aware of a given standard, though certain units or members would have a tablet of how they conduct theirs.
There was also a suggestion put to you. Oh, sorry.
Akukho ndlela imisiweyo okanye umgaqo othile ke apho indlela elandelwayo ngaphandle koba abona aba baphetheyo bazawuyenza njani loo nto leyo ngokwabo.
There was also a suggestion that the SAPS's case, that there were two groups on the copy is an afterthought. You remember that?
Uyakhumbula kuba ngokwakuthiwa nalento kuba ke ngokwakuthiwa iSAPS ithi yona kwakho amaqala amabini pha entabeni into abavela bazithethela bazicingela bazithethela yona amapolisa leyo. Usayikhumbula leyo?
I remember that, Chairperson.
Usayikhumbula leyo sihlalo?
Can I invite you to look at triple F25 exhibit, entry 207.
Page 18 of the exhibit.
Indeed, Chair. Now, what I want to establish is whether that entry was made, which reads, Papa 1 reported that there are two groups of the people at the copy. Was that entry made after the statement of Mr. White?
Lento ibhaliweyo apha into kuba uPapa 1 kaloku yena watsho into kuba kukho amaqela amabini pha entabeni. Lo nto yabhalwa emva kokuba sekufumaneke i-statement saka White.
Chairperson, no, this must, I'm not sure whether this is on the 15th or the 16th of August.
Chairperson.
This is the 15th.
Oh, thank you. No, that's covered. I was going to raise the same issue, but which date?
Kuthiwa ke yonke lento yabhalwa nge-15.
This must have been many months before Mr. White submitted a statement.
Lento yabhalwa inyanga ezininzi ngaphambi ke afake i-statement sakhe umhlekazi uWhite.
Can I invite you to look at entry 180 appearing on page 16 of exhibit triple F25? Are you there?
I do have that entry at 10:40. That's correct, Chairperson.
Ewe ndijonge kuyo ngoku.
The report says Chopper 2 reported that 5 people are 20 meters away from the group facing Nyalas, and people at the back of big group are also moving, speeding to the right side of the Nyalas. Do you see that?
Uyabona pho kubhalwe ke ngoku ingxelo ephuma kwinqwelondaba yesibini into abantu abahlanu ababeme umgama ongangeemitha ezingama-20 kwelinye besuka kwiqela elo babejonge apha ngakwihipo kwaye naba basemva kwentaba lenkulu babehamba ngokukhawuleza naye besiya ngasekunene apha ke ngakwihipo. Uyayibona loo nto?
I do see that, Chairperson.
Ewe ndiyayibona lo sihlalo.
And it reads, would that entry have been made subsequent to the statement of Mr. White?
Lento ibhalwe emva kokuba sesifumanekile i-statement saka mhlekazi Walter na. Ngaphambi kwaso.
Dit is ook voor die verklaring van meneer White. Het lijkt mij ook op die 15e.
This must have
2012
been before the statement by Mr. White. Seems to have been on the 15th day of August 2012.
Bonakala ngathi lento yabhalwa ngaphambi kufumaneke i-statements ka mhlekazi White ngoba kwakunge-15 ka-August 2012.
In your evidence, you have dealt quite extensively with the facts around the cameras. I don't propose we go there.
Facts about
the cameras.
The cameras, yes. So you've moved on to another point. There's just one point I'd like to put. Entry 989, this is an entry from the 16th of August, page 23. That refers to the warriors group moving up and down. So would that be, there's obviously a reference to the group, the front group, to which you refer, the smaller group. Is that right?
Apha ke ku 989 kuthethwa ke ngeliqela ke lama cha Ntliziyo ke ngoku lonto iyabonisa kwakho nelinye iqela apha kunjalo.
Yes, Chairperson.
Njalo Sihlalo.
Can we now deal with other criticism? You would recall that it was persistently put to you that the use of tear gas would have agitated the strikers at the copy to charge towards the police.
Uyakhumbula naxesha kuthiwa ke ukusetyenziswa kwe igesi ezililisayo apho into eyayinoba icaphukise abantu phaa entabeni ukuba baphela lapha besonda ngamapolisa.
In the 17 years post-democracy, has there been any police experience validating that accusation? Not accusation.
He can only speak for himself. He can only speak for himself, obviously.
Are you aware in the police records, in any policing history that you are aware of, where the discharge of a tear gas has had that type of response from the protesters?
Kumaxwebhu ke amapolisa neerekhodi zamapolisa unolwazi ngento enjalo into yokubana ukusetyenziswa ke ngokwegesi lelisayo kungaxhokonxa abantu ukuba benze loo nto ngaloo ndlela?
Voorsitter, nee, ek is nie bewus daarvan nie. Al wat ek weet is dat traangas brand.
I am not aware of that, Chairperson. What I do know is that tear gas has got the burning effect.
Into andiyazi leyo kodwa into endiyaziyo into yokuba i-tear gas lena yona yenza umuntu alile ngamanye amazwi.
In my ervaring waar ek teenwoordig was wat traangas gebruik word is dat sodanige groeperings of individue beweeg teenoorgestelde rigting is wat die traangas gebruik of vanaf gebruik word.
My experience where tear gas has been used is that the individuals on whom it has been applied usually takes the opposite direction from where the tear gas comes from.
Into endiyaziyo ke ngobantu ekuthe kwasetyenziswa kubo tear gas leyo baye balekele kwicala elinye bangabalekeli apho ke ngoku kuduty lakho.
Mr. It looks to me as if you were asking me to take the lunch adjournment earlier. Is that correct? Yes. Oh, well, let's take the lunch adjournment now and resume at 1:45. That's convenient.
It would suit me, Chair.
Mr. Mpofu?
I wanted, yes.
Can you raise your point after we resume?
So,
Mr. Mpofu? Can you?
He can go.
Mr. Mpofu,
Thanks.
Raise your point. Can you raise your point after the adjournment? I've received 2 requests to take the adjournment now, and I'm proposing to grant them.
That's fine.
Unless you're opposing them.
I am, Chairperson. No, it's not really opposing. It's just going to take half a minute, what I wanted to do.
All right, I'll give you half a minute.
Even less, yes. No, it's just in fairness to Mr. Semenya, in case, so that while the witness is here, he might deal with this matter.
He did say he'd be happy if I took the adjournment now.
But he didn't know what I was going to say.
All right, well,
Chairperson, all I wanted to do is just to give references. Commissioner Hemraj had asked me for certain references in relation to the issue of whether the people were shot before the road and so on. So I just thought, rather than raising it later when the witness is gone, in case...
During the adjournment, give him the
Well, I want to give them on the record, Chairperson. It's quite quick.
All right, give them on the record.
It's page 5782, page 6414, page 6423, and page 672021. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you. We now take the adjournment till 1:45.
Sisayotya siyawuphinda sibuye emva kwelunch kakhona.
Okay, wonderful.